the backwoods.
Born in the backwoods.
Raised by a bear.
Raised by a bear.
Got cast iron nuts.
Got cast iron nuts.
And 2 coats of hair.
And 2 coats of hair.
Got a stainless steel dick.
Got a stainless steel dick.
Yeah, it's a mean prick.
Yeah, mean prick.
I'm a mean motherfucker.
I'm a mean motherfucker.
Who don't take no shit.
I don't take no shit.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to the ODT podcast. I'm glad you could join us for the first time ever. Who are you and what do you do?
I'm Kelli Baker, and I am a retired Army.
That's the best kind of Army.
I know, it really is.
How are you liking retirement so far?
I like retirement. I thought I was going to have a hard time getting out and feeling that adjustment. And the first couple months were really hard, but after that, man, I have red fingernails now.
I'm allowed to put my hands in my pockets.
I know. It feels crazy.
I saw some meme where it was a guy talking about why everybody that joins the special forces does it for one reason, so that they can put their hands in their pockets and
grow long hair, have a beard.
For real. Yeah, all the cool stuff. So what do you do? What are you doing right now? Now that you're retired? You doing anything with any foundations or anything like that?
I'm not involved in any foundations, but I have done some foundations. So I did EBV, which is, I'm going to mess this word up every single time, and it makes me look like an idiot, but it's entrepreneurial
No, you nailed it.
boot camp for veterans. And that was through a guy that's out of New York City, and he is affiliated with different colleges throughout the whole country. And the one that I went to was LSU in Louisiana. And that was, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. And that was really neat and very helpful. And so if you have a business idea, they help you put it together. They give you all kinds of resources. I mean, from your logo to financial help with putting your business plans together and all that stuff that goes into it. I did the Veterans to Farmers. That was a blast, by the way.
I heard about that.
Oh, man.
What all do they do? Was it? I saw a commercial or a video about it, and what I gathered from it is they put you through agriculture classes and stuff like that to make sure that you really aren't going to be putting your foot in your mouth whenever you're talking about farming stuff or trying to start your own farm or business. And I know a lot of it is you're basically borrowing from large companies so that you can just run your farm.
Yeah.
But it's got to be confusing,
So I was in, I think the first class. I think I was in the first class of that one. And so it was probably a lot different than it is now. And we went to Chatfield Gardens down in Denver, and we worked alongside their master growers down there. And we learned about an acre, and I had no idea how big an acre is until you walk it and you try and dig holes, and then an acre becomes 500 miles. It's huge. Oh, yeah. But yeah, they teach you about that. They teach you about the seasons. They teach you about companion planting. They teach you about getting your plan together. One of the biggest things that I learned in there was you have to have a business plan, even for farming. Right. Yeah, I have a business degree, and I didn't think that you'd need a business plan for farming, and it turns out you do. So,
is it Monsanto or something like that? The big seed company?
Oh yeah, the GMOs.
Yeah. Don't they own like almost every kind of seed that's out now, and you have to, no matter what, you got to work through them or something?
If you're doing big commercial farming, but you can do backyard farming and you can make a business out of it. I mean, There's so many opportunities for farming. It's crazy. As veterans, we have a vested interest in this country, and farming is, I mean, if you lose the farm, if you lose the land, what do you have left? I mean, it's what we all spilt blood on.
No, I completely agree. I was just talking to somebody about not talking to somebody specifically, but on the show that we were talking about, where my main goal is just to make sure people know, like, there's not as many vets as people think there are. Like, everybody says, oh, thank you for your service and stuff like that, which does not go unnoticed, and a lot of people appreciate it. I myself, and I imagine you, but
definitely
explaining to people that, less than 2% of Americans volunteer in our armed forces, and it's less than 7% of Americans become veterans. Out of those people that join the military, out of that 2%, we end up getting about 7% of Americans are veterans, and that's not a very big percentage.
Mm-mm.
And yet they're like put on the back burner. I love that there's programs like you're talking about, farmers for what's it called?
Veterans to farmers.
No, I dig that. And I'm actually, I don't know if I told you this, but I'm working with this guy, my buddy Ricky. He works with the Department of Labor, kind of the VA kind of thing, but they're not like really connected to them. Excuse me. And he told me about a job opportunity within their area for a DVOP position, Disabled Veteran Opportunity Program, something like that. And you basically help disabled vets get job, find work, stuff like that. And I'm super excited. Knock on wood, the job comes through. I'm like halfway through the process at this point.
You're the dude for it.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I mean, you're in office 2 days a week, and the rest of the week you're out talking to people, talking to businesses, which is what I love. Like he had me with that. Like, it's a federal job, and I only got to be in the office 2 days a week. Like you had me at that. You know? And I'm pretty sure my military time can add on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm excited about is it gives me more of an opportunity to meet even more vets, because I know the last time we spoke, basically every veteran I talk to, I try and like shoehorn in, have you gone to the VA?
Yes, you do that. And you're very good at it too. Yeah, I mean, you make people feel very calm and at ease and willing to talk about it. And that is a talent.
Well, thank you. Honestly, speaking of that, one of the guys that was in the last workshop that we went to, the Patton Veterans Project, he's one of those vets that's like, I don't want to go to the VA. I don't want to take away from like Jim Bob that lost a leg or whatever, which I completely understand and get. But he said after I explained it the way my buddy Ricky explained it to me, I kind of put my little spin on it, was every time you go to the VA, it helps allocate more money to that specific VA in that area. And it tells the government, hey, there's a lot more veterans in this area. They're going to need more money. A good way of looking at it is like the range. When you used to go to the range, into the fiscal year would end, we got to shoot all this ammo. We got to, this, that, and the other. And if we don't shoot all the ammo, if we don't use all this equipment, the government's going to be like, well, you guys didn't use it all, so you must not need that much next year. So it really helps a lot of vets really hone in on, okay, that makes more sense. And when you put it that way, the fact that all I have to do is go, I don't have to get a rating. You don't have to do anything. You just need to go, show up, make yourself known to the city and state that you're a veteran and you're coming to see what benefits are available to you. Because it's not just here's free money. It's not like an EBT card or something. Like, you as a veteran have earned this. You have gone out of your way to serve your country, whether even if you're like court appointed, like forced to join or go to jail, like even then you made that choice. You served the country. Like, kudos to you, and you deserve the follow through with that with the government. The government should be taking care of its veterans, people that were willing to shed blood on the battlefield if need be, and make that sacrifice. And I think if there's any time compared to any other time in history, aside from like the Civil War, World War II, stuff like that, like now's the time that we need actual patriots and actual people that care about our country, want to see it succeed, and kind of not sit by and allow people to just do whatever they want, and not even do whatever they want, but let craziness ensue and happen. Like some of the stuff you hear on the news, some of the stuff that you just hear in general, you're like, how is this happening? Who's just sitting by and letting this happen? And who's pressing the button saying, this is okay, we'll allow this? Like,
man, I want to know the answer to that.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to talk about exactly that.
Yeah. I
got to be on, as you know, we've been talking about it for the past couple days. I got to go on Jubilee in the Middle Ground. It was an awesome, it is an awesome show. And I love the opportunity to be able to find that middle ground and come to not a consensus, but like come to an agreement that, hey, we need to talk and have a dialogue and things like that. And as people will see today as we review this, it was maybe 60-40 of listening, and like we filmed for 4 straight hours, and they used 1 hour of it, if that gives people any kind of context to how it was handled, how it was moderated. Moderator was awesome. I love that guy. He was cool.
He did do a good job keeping everybody in line. I mean, even when you strayed off, it felt like he brought it right back to where you could focus on what the question was.
Oh yeah, no, he was great, and he's actually from Colorado. From
No
what he
kidding.
said. Because when I mentioned Greeley, he was like, "Oh man, you from Greeley?" And I'm like, I lived in Greeley. I could smell Greeley, but then I moved to Loveland because I don't know. Hell no. And Colorado in general is awesome. It's just like some of the stuff. A lot of people are moving from other states, specifically California. Our neighbors here that own the house next door are from California. And they're awesome. I love them if they're watching. But it's not them specifically. It's other people that are moving here and bringing those policies that they voted for out in California to Colorado. And we're already blue, right? I'm pretty sure.
Well, we are now.
So surprisingly, with all the veterans that we have a holy crap amount of vets. I got the numbers somewhere on my phone. I'll find them and I'll pop them up on there. But it's like 60, 70,000
Wow.
in northern Colorado in certain areas. So it's like 70, 20, stuff. Or I think Denver's 70, something like that. But there's so many people with those kind of conservative values. And it doesn't even have to be conservative, just like middle of the road, you do you, let me do me kind of outlook on life. And I think those people really need to be voting this year. And I think they will be, just because anybody that's driving around Colorado through Denver, Aurora, they're seeing what's happening slowly but surely. And it's going to start creeping into northern Colorado. It's going to start creeping into the mountains. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And I'm excited though.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask, how did you go about getting accepted to Jubilee? What did that process look like?
So they have a little thing at the end of each episode. It's a casting link, and it's like, if you ever think you want to get your opinion out there, which is awesome. And I kept telling them, like, you guys need to push that more. Like, put the casting stuff at the end way more, because like that's what caught me. That's what made me look on there. And I was like, hey, babe, you should go apply for me and put me on there. But all of it was stuff that I had to do myself. So
Yeah.
Had to put my work boots on and get on my email. And
Yeah. So how long did you have to wait before they called you in? And did you know the
next
topic?
day.
No kidding.
They emailed me the next day. They were amazing. Jubilee, I feel like the people that are running all of that have been worn down, running the middle ground side of it, not the other side, because those, like, you can taste the woke crap that they're pushing. But with middle ground, I feel like they've been grounded down so much by the talking heads and people that go to their middle ground things. They've been ground down so much that they've become like jaded, where they're like, okay, we get you have this spiel you want to give, but we want your genuine opinion. We want it to be real, which was easy for me, because I'm like, hey, you've seen my first episode. I'm very real now. I'm very open to an extent. Like, I've done some stupid stuff that I'm gonna keep to myself.
I have never
till my deathbed. I'm gonna work the one. But I'm very open with my kids. I'm very open in general, and it was easy because they were like, hey, put a 1 to 3 minute video explaining, who you are, what your opinions are, why you're voting for Trump. And that was pretty easy. My main things were, immigration, securing our border, taxes, and the amount of money that the government is taking from us. They cut this out, by the way. The government keeps an itemized receipt from us that we have to put together. Make sure you don't miss anything or you're going to owe us money. And if you owe us money and you don't pay it, you're going to jail. You know, that's how the government is with us. But when it comes to the government, they say, oh, well, your money's in there somewhere. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to send you an itemized receipt like you had to send me of what you spent money on this year.
They don't work for us, do they?
No, exactly. That was my biggest bugaboo. And the thing I kept trying to bring up is like, we are the citizens of America. We are America. The government, we don't need the government. The government's nice to have and it makes things a lot easier. And, you know, we need structure.
Yeah.
That being said, like, we don't need the government telling us what we can and can't do. We don't need the government enforcing draconian laws and rules just because of a flu or whatever it is. Like, everyone was freaking out in the beginning of the vid. But at the end of the day, everything that conspiracy theorists were saying 2019, 2020 is now common knowledge now. Well, duh.
Funny how that worked.
Isn't going to change anything.
Right. No kidding. I know.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm curious to know, though, did you get paid to be on there?
$50.
No kidding.
Yeah. They were like, can you fly out here on your own dime? And is that a problem or anything? Like, because most of the people they're getting, which made this a lot clearer for me, most of the people they get are either coming out of pocket, which I spent like $1,000 altogether. Just Uber was $150.
Jeez.
To get from LA to, I got the name of it somewhere, but I don't want to give their position away.
Yeah.
What's their location? But Uber was like $150 just to get from the airport to there. The flight itself, I think we spent around like $300, $400. Then the hotel, we got a night. I didn't want to sleep in a Motel 6, and there weren't any Motel 6s in that area where all these studios are. But that itself was like 500 something bucks. The wife's got all the numbers, but
yeah,
it was about $1,000. I had no problem doing that because of, in my head, I'm telling myself, you know, this is going to be an opportunity to shoehorn's my new word this month.
It's a good one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get as much information about vets as possible out there to people that they know a vet. Like, oh, my uncle's a vet or my dad was a vet, but I hate him. You know what I mean? Like, those people that don't really know, they're more left-leaning than anything, but you can give them an opinion that they might not normally hear, which is why I like the middle ground. And, you know, the what else was it? The damn, I'm drawing a blank. I'll come back to it. Sorry.
No, I was curious too. Did they make you sign an NDA?
I think so. I think I signed some basically saying that, like, I'm not gonna talk about the episode prior to doing it. Like, I'm not gonna give away their location and stuff like that. And I think,
why didn't they want you to know their location?
well,
Why
just-
don't they want the major
yeah,
people
crazy
to know?
people.
Okay.
It's at like 2 million views right now.
No kidding.
So many people watch the show, which is why I was amped about it. Like, hell yeah, I'm gonna have an opportunity to talk about vets, what they're needing, what they miss, and they cut a lot of that out, which I don't really put on the editor or Jubilee. I put it on the other people that were there.
Yeah.
There was a lot of over talking and yelling and, no, you're an idiot. Why would you think that? Blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah. I'm right. You know what I mean? There was a lot of that. So, like, I don't blame them for doing that. I think it was more of like a precursor to the shoot for the video.
Yeah.
They wanted to make sure we weren't gonna do anything crazy, or they just wanted to cover
Yeah.
their ass.
Yeah.
basically, which I get.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask too, did you meet any of the people on the panel prior to?
One of the guys.
You did. How'd that go?
It pretty good. They wanted to keep us separated in the beginning. It was fun though, because I got to meet him and chit chat with him. Me and him were both there like 15 minutes prior.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I don't think he wasn't in the military. He's more like blue collar kind of work, plumber,
Mm-hmm.
electrician type stuff. I think he did construction, i.e. the hard hat.
Okay. Yeah. Osiris, I think was his name.
Yeah, he was a really cool dude. They're out of Chicago, And he had a lot of great points that he made that they cut out. He was very articulate in what he was saying and drove home really good points, which most of the videos that you see in the beginning, people sound like idiots. You know,
Right.
That's why I'm like, he really nailed it. And I was scared that I wasn't going to be articulate enough and make my points and drive them home without coming off grandiose or abrasive. Cause
You didn't.
I know when I explain, thank you. I know when I explain stuff to people, like, especially family, I come off as an ass. So
Oh,
that
family's
was my
family.
big
That's a whole
fear.
different thing. They turned it around pretty quick, though. From the time that you shot, when did they air it? How long did that take?
We shot it Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
the 12th or something. I think it was the 12th. No, 13th or 14th. It was during the weekend. Flew out there Friday, went there Saturday morning, I think, and then stayed the night and flew out Sunday. So that way the tickets were a little bit cheaper. So it's like broken up. But
Yeah.
when I got there, we got there early. We were waiting there for like 30 something minutes before anyone showed up.
Wow.
And then 40 minutes altogether to wait to get mic'd up, which I know they're trying to like wrangle kittens, which I get what that's like. But like the whole time I'm sitting there sweating, I'm nervous, I'm anxious because I don't want to look like an idiot. And I want to make sure that I'm representing veterans properly and not like, oh, he's that kind of veteran. He's a MAGA veteran. Like, I'm not a MAGA anything. I like Trump. There's a Trump. I even put Vance for that.
Oh, there you go. That's genius.
But like, I like Trump because of the policies that he's putting forward, and he's a wrench in the gears.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like him. He's a F you. You're not going to tell me what I'm going to do. I'm telling the people what I'm going to do, and they're voting for it. The end. Now, the last time he was in, he kind of like, he dropped the ball on a lot of stuff. He didn't really like do everything that he was saying he was going to do. But as far as the economy,
He couldn't.
Exactly.
He was up against people. I mean, they had him put people on his staff that were there to sabotage him. That was their job, and they did a pretty darn good job of trying.
Well, they showed themselves these last 4 years.
Sure.
And I know we're going to come off like a conservative podcast or like this is
But these are facts.
Yeah, we're just explaining our views on this, but I was nervous and just intimidated because I don't know I was scared there was going to be a liberal version of Charlie Kirk that shows up that actually, you know what I mean? Like, and start correcting everything and make me look like a dumbass. Like, and I was sweating because they put us in a makeup room that had no ventilation. So I come out looking like a hobo with my shirt off, putting my spit stains up in the vent, like, oh, there's cool air. I'll dry it off here. Like that. I'm doing that so that I can look somewhat like calm, cool, collected before I go in.
Well, what did the room look like? Was it a warehouse? How many lights did they have? How many cameras did they have? How big was the crew?
It was such a great setup. I actually got a picture of it. I put it on my Facebook because I the second you go in, you're like, damn, this is nice. They did really well with having everything prepared. Here's and I'll pop this up on the podcast.
Oh, it's big. It's like a warehouse then.
Yeah. Like a big mechanics room.
Yeah.
It's got the open and shut doors that go up. But they had an amazing setup and the cameras and lighting and stuff. But it's not like this can't be done by just like regular Joes like us, you know?
Yeah.
Like I genuinely, we had talked about this before. I want to do something like this, like Jubilee did with Middle Ground, for veterans. Bring in some vets, bring in some civilians, bring in left-leaning vets, bring in more conservative vets. Just ask questions. Nothing too crazy, like, you know, I want to bring up little things here and there, but more stuff that really pertains to veterans, what their issues are, what they need help with, stuff like that, and kind of get their views on the opposing side, because everybody has an opinion It's just we need to find a middle ground to,
Well, you talked about how everybody was talking over everybody. How would you vet people differently so that you wouldn't have to deal with that?
I mean, I would. They were very clear after each prompt. Like the guy would like flip out, and we'll watch it in a minute. The guy would flip out, and the guy in the blue hoodie, everybody, he super nice guy off camera, like didn't have an issue with him at all, and super chill. But like the second the camera comes on and he hears something he doesn't like, he started over talking even the people on his side. And after each prompt, when we would walk back to wait. The producer or director would come out and she's like, you can't talk over everybody. Like, you guys got to stop doing this because we can't use half this stuff. There was like 2.5 hours of stuff that they did not use because people were talking over each other, and it ruined the entire prompt. One of them, we got into a conversation about abortion, and I spoke about my kid and how my oldest was 2 pounds, 6 ounces, born at 26 weeks. That's a big deal to me. And the second we started talking about it, it was the Roe v. Wade stuff and how, they're taking away women's rights to healthcare. And I'm like, they brought it to the States. Okay. And the moderator was awesome. Why? And Mason and, I can't remember, is it John or Jonathan was the moderator?
I don't know what his name was. I wrote down everybody else's name, but I didn't write down his name.
He was a cool dude. The guy that I said,
he sat in the middle.
Colorado. Yeah. And I couldn't sit next to him because we were both wearing the same color shirt.
I wondered why, because you always sat like he had cooties or something off to the side.
There was a part in it where I was like, no, you guys sit there. I just can't sit next to him. and then everybody's laughing. But I was like, he had told me before, let's just make sure we're not sitting next to each other. Super nice guy. Everybody there was nice, off camera and some on camera. But when it came to the Schmortion stuff, the Roe v. Wade bringing it down to the States, he then asked, while that guy was like yelling and stuff, he asked me, well, why do you prefer it to be to the States? And I explained, I like feeling as if my vote has more power when it comes to the States, which it does. We vote for who we put in place in our state to make the electoral votes.
Yes.
Because, we can vote all we want for president, but it's mainly coming down to the electoral votes. And hopefully our governor, all these people are listening to us and say, oh, well, the people say that they want Trump or they want Kamala, whoever. But then the guy in the blue Eric, I think. Yes. He started talking about how he wanted to, he's mad that he can't just he has to tell his daughters that they can't have access to medical care. And they cut out the part where I'm like, they cut all of it, but where I'm like, oh no, sorry kids, you can't kill your unborn children. And all of that had really good points prior to that. It's just immediately after everyone's yelling over each other, so it just didn't edit well, I imagine. But other than that, it was really, the questions, the prompts were really good. I wish they had asked some other prompts, but
you said they put you in a makeup room. Did you wear makeup?
No.
Oh, come on, Joe. Be honest.
No, seriously, right? I put some hair gel in, but I was scared my hair would look too thin or, something like that. I'm a middle-aged man who...
You are not middle-aged.
33 is middle, right?
No.
Hopefully I make it to 60.
It's not. God.
Yeah. Hopefully middle-aged for me is 40 or 50 maybe.
Yeah. So when they lined you up, what were you feeling when they started to ask the first question? Were you nervous? Were you ready to go? Was your mind clear?
Kind of, sort of. I have a really bad problem ever since I got out of the military with my adrenaline. I get huge adrenaline dumps for the dumbest stuff, but when it's serious stuff, I'm very honed in, no issue. I'm ready right then, let's go. But when it's dumb stuff that I don't know if it's my medulla oblongata that is making me do that, but I just get these crazy adrenaline dumps, and then like 10 minutes, 20 minutes pass, and I'm good. So once everything got going and I was able to start speaking, it made it a lot easier. But I have no control over my brain anymore when it comes to like just adrenaline dumps.
Well, do you care if I ask you about that? Do you what
Yeah.
that looks like? What is when you get your adrenaline going? Where's your brain at?
It's like your stomach's in your chest, and you're like, it's that, like, you feel washed over, and you're just like breathing real deep. You feel like you have to take an even bigger breath to like relax, and that's my main issue is like, it's easy for me because I was a combatives instructor when I was in the military. It's easy for me to fight and like be aggressive physically, but telling my brain, okay, your brain thinks this is something that's like, oh my God, but in actuality, it's not as serious as you're making it. And that's my issue is like, I can't control it. And it just every time.
Yeah, I'd say getting out of the military, that was one of the hardest things, because there's times where I felt like the guy in the blue hoodie where I wanted to scream on top of everybody, hear my voice. It's that important. And then learning to calm that down, let them say their piece, I'll get my turn.
Right.
That's hard. It's really hard.
I was having a hard time with that. You can see in the video where I'm just like, and I felt bad for the audio guy because the mic's like right there, and I'm like trying not to just breathe all over it. So I'm like looking up, but I mean, you can see the whole time I'm like smiling because I'm happy I'm there, and
Absolutely.
and you're seeing this stuff that you watch on YouTube that you think is hilarious, but now you're actually there talking about it. But it just, man, it was definitely an experience, but that's the only thing that was really intimidating to me was like myself. I was in my own head, but like I knew it wasn't as big of a deal as I'm making it. My body is just like, it's like when you wake up with morning wood. Like you can't control it. Your brain is, you know what I'm talking about.
I know
right?
what you're talking about. I hope not.
Your husband's like, no, she doesn't.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's just, I can't control it, and it's something my wife knows that it's an issue for me, and I'll show her like out of nowhere, my hands will be shaking. I'll be like over dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Weird off the wall stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's part of the process. And like you were talking about when we were at the patents thing and you were talking to that gentleman about getting into there, there's something about going into the VA hospital, especially VA Cheyenne. I can't say enough good things about it. I mean, it's so different from every VA I've ever been to. But when you walk into there, it just feels like you take a deep breath and you let it out, because everybody there is the same as you. We're all fighting the same struggles, and
they're trying to help.
They are. And you go there maybe for an appointment, but there's so many opportunities. Like I wouldn't have known about the patent thing had I not gone to the VA hospital. I wouldn't have known about half the stuff that's out there for veterans to help you out. Just even like fishing. I mean, one of the guys was involved in fishing, I think, and taking out fishing expeditions and things like that. You just meet people that help you with your struggle, and you can help them too. And that's a great feeling.
That's the only reason obviously that's how we met. That's the only reason I'm out here helping wherever I can with Veterans Life magazine, with Patent Veterans Project, with Combat Recovery Foundation, the one my buddy runs, Marshall. He's amazing, and Ben as well. They're both amazing, and I think the difference is they know what it's like to be where a lot of vets are when they're having those like, holy crap, like I don't know what to do, I need to get away kind of thing, but they don't have anywhere to go. They're trying to put that together for them, and my main goal is like basically shoving this stuff down everyone's throat. Like, these guys have this other place has this, and that was the whole point of that. Like, I had the names of the 13 soldiers that died at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan written in permanent marker on my forearm, specifically so that I would have a chance to, right off the bat, because I'm not going to remember their names. Like, some of the names were very intricate.
Yeah.
But, it's like people don't know what they don't know. And,
Yeah.
you know, and then they're going to vote for someone like Kamala, which is basically just the Biden administration moving forward because Biden is too far gone, you know.
He was never there.
Yeah. He used to be, you know.
When? Not as president.
Before, yeah, right. Before 2016, and I think even in 2016, he kind of had his wits still about him somewhat.
Yeah.
But he's not. He's not like 20 years ago Joe Biden.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like 20 years ago, Joe Biden would be like, "Well, yeah, no, 3 strikes, you're out. You know, you drugs, you can't be having drugs. You know, like his views then were more conservative-esque.
Right.
You know." But that's just with everything else. The right is just the left going the speed limit.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that.
How much stuff have we turned tail on?
Right.
I mean, like, you know what? We'll let them get married. No, I'm just kidding. Not that part. I'm joking about that.
Things
but.
like, oh my God, I just lost my
No, like with the drug bills that they kept putting through, and with immigration, all the talking points that used to be left-leaning
anti-war.
Anti-war, free speech.
Yeah.
You know, I need my Second Amendment. Well, they weren't really Second Amendment, right? But a lot of old version lefties were, I need my Second Amendment so I can protect my First Amendment. And people now, it's like they're just so, it's been jammed into their head nonstop that it's like they've gone numb to it and they just don't care now.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Do you think that the first question that they asked you on the video, which you said we'll get to, do you think that that was the right one? Did that set the right tone for the whole mood?
I think so. They switched it around. The first prompt that they had in the video wasn't the actual first prompt that they asked us.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was because they cut it out.
Yeah.
But it ended up being a different prompt.
The first question they asked in that one on the actual video, outside of the first clip to drag you in,
right,
was about is there anything your opponent or your person you're supporting,
that's right,
yeah,
could do to lose your vote?
Yeah.
I like I said in the video, it for me, Trump would have to do some like off the wall stuff. I wish that this was the part that they cut out. I wish that it wasn't just Trump and Kamala. I wish it was Trump, Tulsi, RFK, Kamala, Vivek Ramaswamy, J.D. Vance, like all these other people for presidential position. I wish we had those people as an option, and I wish that they would allow all of them to debate together, you know, at some point, or you know, have all these options, narrow it down, which is what they did with Trump. The Republican Party, you know, they had a list of people. Trump knocked them all out, and then, you know, he already showed what he can do in 4 years. And then the Democratic Party just said, well, we're picking Biden. And then a couple weeks before the Democratic nominee or nomination, he has his debate, gets destroyed because he's senile and dementia-ridden. And that's not to be mean. That's like...
It's fact.
Yeah, that's not okay what they're doing to him. I wouldn't want that for Trump. I wouldn't want that for Biden. Like, for anybody, that's horrible. But after he got demolished, Trump, they said, all right, here's our new person. I thought they were going to throw up that dude from California.
Newsom? Yeah.
I thought Tim Pool had a great video where he's like, you know, this is what I think is going to happen. They're going to have Biden, Kamala, Newsom, everybody up on a stage. Then Biden's going to grab his chest and fall over and have a heart attack. And then Newsom's going to roll his sleeves up, come in, give him CPR and bring him back to life and hold his head and be like, I got you, sir. And then, and then Biden a day later is going to be like, I'm stepping down, but I want you. And he like looks over to Newsom, and Newsom's crying. He's like, thank you, sir. And like salutes. I thought that's how they.
Well, you were talking about in the patent workshop that you have all these ideas of different skits that you could do. This would be a great one.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
This one was Tim Pool's. He was hilarious, but I want those options. I want an actual set of options that let me, as an American voter, feel like my opinion matters. You know?
Was there anything they cut that you wish they would have left in, other than those two
That
things?
piece. And then when I started talking about news media and the work that I've done with
Yeah,
CNN,
I was gonna ask you about
MSNBC,
that.
all, like, they got some of that in there. But what they cut out was me saying, you know, I watch all these other news agencies because I know they're all lying. Whether it's Fox or CNN or whoever, it's always a perspective that they're showing you that isn't showing the whole thing. It's just showing a little bit. And if you watch each one of them, it'll turn into one big picture of what's actually happening. But we don't even get that anymore. Now it's like, this is the full picture. This is what all the news media together is showing us. And then I have to fill the rest in with Tim Pool IRL, Sean Ryan Show, PBD Podcast with Patrick Bet David. All these people that are actually giving us real new Dave Smith, real James O'Keefe, real investigative journalists. Steven Crowder, he just came out with a new video talking to the guy who told what's his face out in New York, the governor in New York during COVID. I can't. His brother worked in news, and Chris Cuomo.
Oh,
He was the one that pushed Cuomo's brother, the governor or mayor or whatever, to impose the draconian COVID lockdowns. And then every other liberal state followed. And it just got worse and worse and worse. And now we're all surprised that the economy went to crap. But this is after Biden already gets elected. It's not, you know, we're going to shut your business down, but we're not really going to shut it down. We're just going to make it to where you can't work. You can't come into work because if you don't get the vaccine, then you're going to get old people sick. And if you get old people sick, you hate old people, right?
yeah, in America.
Yeah. So it was a lot of mixture that I brought up that they cut out. Like, here are other sources that I watch to give me as much of a full view and perspective on what's really going on in America now and outside of America compared to CNN, MSNBC.
Yeah. If you were the moderator, would you have done anything different?
Nah, maybe shut the guy in the blue up a little bit more and like make sure that it's not just him. I don't want to pick on him, but like quiet people down. Hey, you asked him a question, which he did halfway through. He's like, you asked a question, let him answer.
Yeah.
But they cut some of that stuff out, and they made it to where you kind of only see certain parts of the video, and it kind of makes sense but doesn't. And there was a lot more context that they cut out. But if I was the moderator for that, I think I definitely would have quieted people down and I would have given us the entire day instead of having another shoot right after.
Oh, they did have another.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they gave us 4 hours, which is more than enough. We should have been able to do all that calmly, you know?
Yeah.
But we didn't, and we were rushed towards the end on certain questions because they were shooting another video.
Gotcha. And how they set it up with 4 on one side, 4 on the other coming in at a V, was that conducive to the conversation, or would you have done it around a table? What would you have done differently?
I kind of liked that because it was, I liked people being able to move in different spots, but like, I just didn't want to go on that other side because everybody was already like pointing questions towards me as well. And I didn't want to go over there and like, they're like turning sideways to look at me or anything like that. I feel like how they had it set it up was pretty good that we could talk across. It's just maybe different kind of chairs because I was like hunched over. You see my veteran belly.
No, you didn't. You're being paranoid, but yeah.
But like the whole time I was like hunched over because I got like 3 herniated discs and it was killing me.
Yeah. What did you think about the people on your side?
I think they were great. The plastic surgeon, she was a little aggressive, understandably, She was cool though, and the young girl that was next to me, she was adorable and sweet. And the other dude, Osiris. He was cool. And I got to talk to him before anybody else. So me and him got to go back and forth with some stuff, and kind of he had his time to study, and then we talked and like rebutted, so that like he would ask a question, or I would ask a question, he would give an answer, and then I would pretend that I'm on the other side saying, well, and just give talking points that they usually give for, shushmortion and other stuff like that.
So it looked like they cut a lot out. I'm going to say her name wrong. Anila? Naya? I don't know. The tank top girl.
Oh, yeah.
She had her hand up a lot, and she only had one question that she talked about through that whole thing.
Yeah, she was very soft-spoken, and I think the prompts where she actually gave a real opinion and was able to like give a spiel on it, those were the ones that they cut out. Because what she was saying, not because she didn't say anything aggressive enough or like risque, like she didn't, everything she said was pretty middle of the road and like understandable. And I don't think the editors or Jubilee that like give the go no go on stuff, I don't think they thought that it would get enough views on some of the stuff she said. So, but she's in other videos. She does a lot of videos with Jubilee now.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. She was in one a couple years ago as a teenager in high school, giving her opinion on like COVID and stuff like that, and the economy. But yeah, no.
Yeah. How did you feel about the people on the other side? We kind of touched on this already, but did you feel that they picked a good panel overall?
Mason was really cool. The other, I think her name was Zion or Zakia.
Zion was the veteran with the black and white shirt.
Yeah, the one with the blazer.
Yeah.
She was cool. I liked her.
Was
she was very soft spoken.
Zakiya?
I think so. Zakiya, maybe. I know both of them had like Z names or something.
Yeah, she had blue blazer.
But I take that back. She wasn't soft-spoken. She was very calm, cool, and collected, which I appreciated. So was Mason as well. Mm-hmm. But the other two were more abrasive, more talking over, more, well, you said that, so I'm going to say this, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So it was like, I don't even want to hear what you're having to say because you're yelling it at me. And then she said, this was the other thing. I'm a veteran. I've deployed 7 times. And I'm like 23 or 24. How did I deploy 7 times, you think? If you had to guess. And I didn't call her out on this because I didn't want to be a dick. But what comes to mind if I sat here and said, yeah, I've deployed 7 times, okay? And at no point did I carry a weapon or a weapon of war, At no point did I do that. What comes to mind? What branch do you think she's in?
Well, I would have guessed not Marines and not Army.
She was in the Navy, and I'm pretty sure that I didn't like dig at her and like grill her or anything, but my main thing was just making sure she's gone to the VA, get her 100%.
Yeah.
Which she did.
Yeah.
Which I was like, okay, well, I'm not even going to push this any further. But her opinions on weapons and rifles and the AR-15 and stuff like that were like, you're crazy. Everywhere I went while I was deployed, I had to carry a weapon.
Well, and
everywhere.
Like we were saying at a different time, but sometimes when you went to do PT, you had your weapon slung over your back. I mean, it just went everywhere with you. And honestly, when I got back to the States, and I'm sure you felt the same way, when you didn't have it, you were like, oh, God.
Anxious.
There's a box in the highway. What am I going to do?
Yes. But like, I that's what made my brain snap out of it, because 90% sure she's counting every time her ship went into combat waters or whatever they would call it.
Yeah.
I think that she called that a deployment. And in my mind, and it's just perspective, other Navy, Air Force, whatever, that call like, Africa a deployment, which certain parts for sure are, but like I'm counting Afghanistan because I went to Afghanistan and like I got shot at bullets going over our fob. The defect got blown up before we got there, and then some stuff got blown up over near the burn pit while I was there, and then what was it? We had a lot of Afghan military there. A lot of those guys got blown up by the Afghan people outside of it. So we had people going in and out of this fob that were trying to get an idea of where things are so that they could mortar it, and I'm calling that a deployment, or Iraq in the beginning a deployment, like in my mind. So when she's saying I never carried a weapon, like what?
Well, and we count our deployments as months on months on months. And I think that some of the other branches do 2 weeks, and that's a deployment. To us, that's TDY. So
Yeah. Oh, man.
Different language,
Yes.
Definitely, for the different branches.
Again, perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, when she said that, I kind of like part of my brain shut off. Like, okay, well, whatever you're gonna say next is probably gonna be some stupid shit. But she was cool afterwards, and the guy in the blue hoodie was cool afterwards. But as far as people on the other side that I appreciated, the young lady in the blue blazer and Mason, they were amazing. Very cool, calm, collective. You could have a conversation and a debate and good rebuttals back and forth. That some of them they cut out because they would ask questions afterwards, like normal people, and I would tell them, here's why.
Yeah, definitely. Are you glad you did the panel?
Yes.
Would you do it again?
100%. I would. I just forking up about $1,000, like
Right.
that's hard to talk the wife into letting me do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I was really surprised that they didn't pay for your at least flight and hotel. I was sure that they'd do that.
That's what I thought too, especially because they got back to me so quick. But I didn't. My biggest fear was that they would change their mind. So I was like, whatever. I'll pay whatever. Just give me an opportunity to come out there to talk to vets.
Yeah.
Like that's all I want. That's all I care about. So that was my only goal.
That's
So
awesome.
I would do it again, and I want to do it like we were talking about with people here in Colorado, veterans, people with differing opinions, but honing in on vets.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, the pool is large here.
Oh yeah. I'm excited. I genuinely am, and I bought enough BS lighting, cameras, all that. Like game on.
Yeah, it matters. It's good stuff. That's all I have for those questions until we get into the.
Perfect. Then we'll pop the video on now, and then for the people watching, they'll see an actual box at the bottom.
The term third world is offensive to me, bro. Because you're talking about a subhuman.
No,
you're talking
it's not
about
that
people
it's a
who aren't as
subhuman.
developed as we are, so they're the third world.
So if you're stoning women after they've been
In the Bible, bro, not
no.
I'm from Iran, and it happens now.
Another day, another episode of Middle Ground. Hi, my name's John. I am the host of
John.
Radical Empathy, and I will be moderating today's episode between Harris supporters and Trump supporters. Our first prompt is, no matter what my candidate does, I will still vote for them.
Yeah. Like I was saying, that one, like I was nervous to go up there for that one just because it's like,
Was it truly the first question they asked?
yelling at people, calling them stupid, or like did something crazy that I wouldn't still vote for him, it would have to be like walk out in Times Square, shoot someone in the face kind of thing. Like it would have to be something outrageous for me to not vote for him right now, and that is only because these are the only two choices I have, which sucks for us as American people. We should have a lot more choice in this. We should have had more debates. We should have had more people involved in the debates. It would take a lot for me not to vote for him just because I care so much about securing our country and my right to own firearms.
So for me, we know Kamala's character, and so even thinking if she does the worst thing ever, would I still vote for her? Yeah, because I know the worst thing that she could do wouldn't even be the best thing that Trump does, right? Like the bars are very different. In addition to that, of course I'm going to vote for her because Trump is such a terrible alternative. I'm afraid to see what our country would look like.
I'm voting for Kamala for pragmatic reasons. January 6th made Trump ineligible in my eyes.
That
He's a
got
traitor.
my blood boiling.
Yeah. We kept going, and anybody watching, you guys can watch the full video uninterrupted. We're gonna chit chat here and there, but after he said that, some of our people came up in a different prompt talking about this specifically, and were like, "You're crazy. Look at all the evidence that's showing that January 6th, no, it wasn't an inside job. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But January 6th definitely had a lot more stuff in it that people have no idea about. There's like hundreds of hours of footage showing people being escorted through the Capitol, doors being opened, barriers being moved. And then prior to people going crazy, everybody protesting calmly behind the barriers, and then tear gas gets shot into the group, rubber bullets get shot into the group, like all of these things that led to people going crazy and acting like idiots. But at the end of the day, the only person that died was Amanda, is that her name? Or
That sounds right.
yeah, the Air Force veteran getting shot. But she was an idiot for, that's the part they cut out of me saying it, was like, anybody that went there is not very bright. It's the most surveilled place in America, and you're going there with nothing on your face to cover, like, and then you're breaking windows and doors to the Capitol of the United States. Like, that's not okay. What you did, those people in particular, not people that calmly walk through, not people that, you know, were escorted, not them. I'm talking about people that were breaking stuff and things like that. But nothing got burnt down. Nothing. People weren't peeing on the walls or ripping stuff out, and you know, it's not what people were making it out to be, and the news media was making it out to be. There were people like Owen Schroyer that work with InfoWars, and he like. Owen Schroyer was railroaded. He had a permit and everything to be there, was telling people don't, and he was like right outside the area. He's like, don't go in. It's a trap, you know, don't go in. And people were still going in. He ended up serving 8 months in prison, I think, or jail, for inciting. Even though he was telling people not to. So.
Well, I watched it live when that was all. When January 6th was happening, I was watching it live, and I was watching it through other eyes other than the TV show media. It was people who were there were uploading their videos of, hey, look at this. And I remember there was a guy on there, and he had said something along the lines of, well, this is what we're supposed to do. And I know when I was in school, they said when your government is corrupt, then you have an obligation as an American citizen to overthrow the government. Well, if you do it in I don't know how you do it in a peaceful way, but
yeah, right.
But that was as peaceful as you could get, in my opinion.
Compared to the Summer of Love prior to that.
Right.
You know.
And if it's our obligation to do it, then how do we do it? What is the thing? Who is the person outside of a Messiah that walks on water?
Yeah.
I mean, what are we supposed to do? How do you do it?
I think that's what made it so hard to watch and be a part of, was like, you know, something needs done. You can't just sit idly by. But now this entire group of people that are willing to stand up and willing to do something about it, they're all in federal prison or out on probation or are now felons. So now they can't own fire. Like, they railroaded so many people. Were there idiots? 100%.
There's always idiots.
But there's idiots on every single side.
Every side.
There's Summer of Love that I got to do private security contracting with CNN, MSNBC, all them. I got to go see these protests, watch them burn cities down, burn the police station down, burn down Target, steal everything out of Target, and then go live in a hotel for free that's being paid for by the city while you're watching TV on a TV you just stole from Target. And we can see it through their hotel window. Like, in what world does that make sense? And how is that okay? What happened to those people? Nothing.
Nothing happened to them.
But people that are protesting, getting pepper sprayed, pepper balls, rubber bullets, all that shot at them, and then flipping out, you know, I don't blame them for some of the stuff that they did, but there are definitely portions of it where I'm like,
yeah,
come on.
Yeah.
I was excited the whole time, like, I mean, the tree of liberty must be drenched in the blood of patriots from time to time. That is a dark, deep quote That is 100% true.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think January 6th was that moment? No. I think something else will happen that will push America to that breaking point, but we're going to all have to come to the conclusion that, you know, if our side doesn't win, or side tribalism, whatever, like, you're going to go to jail if you lose, or if you pick the wrong time, like January 6th. They picked the wrong time to do that, because I don't think anybody really understood how bad things can get until now, where it's like, even now we're first world problems. You know what I mean? Like, I think once it really gets real for people, that's when it'll be that, like, come to Jesus moment. Like, all right, well, hike your pants up, let's go.
Yeah.
But I don't, there's a lot of cowards in America, and I think that there's more patriots than cowards, hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood. But we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think we're there quite yet. I think it's still going to get worse, but like you said, fingers crossed that it doesn't.
Yeah. No. Well, and I even say that in the last prompt, like, the world's not going to end. We need our candy and Coca-Cola.
Next prompt is, Harris beat Trump in the debate. Will the agreeers please step forward?
Would you have changed anything of your question, the first question that he gave? Would you have changed any of your answers for any of these that they have asked you?
No.
Okay.
I think I answered it the way I genuinely felt, which is all I really wanted to do. Because at the end of the day, like I say in some of my other stuff, like, what are you going to do, shame me?
Right.
It's my opinion. I might be wrong.
Right.
They only fact check Trump. They didn't really fact check Kamala as much as I think they should have.
But when one
we don't
candidate
have to
lies
fact check
more.
when
You
we're
don't
telling
have
the
to,
truth
yeah.
and telling facts.
And basically, the only 2 times that they did fact
Cute.
check was, we don't murder babies after 9 months, and Haitians aren't eating dogs in Ohio.
Well, Kamala
So
Harris perpetuated
they cut
the
this
myth.
part out. They cut this part out about Governor Northam, and they did it for a reason, because when I came up, I made the point that Governor Northam of Virginia did say that Trump screwed it up in the debate. He said West Virginia. It was Northern Virginia, where I was born. Governor Northam was on a radio show, and Alex Jones went into great detail talking about this on the Joe Rogan podcast, where Governor Northam's talking about keeping babies comfortable and sedating them while we talk with the mother and the doctor and we make a decision. This is after the baby's born. It's laying in a table, born, sedated, and they're talking about what to do with the baby. The baby that's right here? Yeah, that one. Like, and then these guys are sitting here saying that, no, that's not happening, you're crazy. It's like,
There's a video out there right now of a girl that calls one of the abortion clinics, and it's very matter-of-factly that they are definitely doing that.
oh yeah, no, I saw that video. She calls him, like, while she's on at the podium.
Yeah.
I saw that one. I love that.
Harris
Oh,
won the
we
debate.
forgot about
Oh,
the
yeah.
already.
Yes, to be honest, I want to extend I have mad respect.
Absolutely,
For
same.
anybody.
You know what I
here,
would like
any
to
Trump-
know? I would like to just look at the people on the Harris side. I would like to look at their feeds for, let's say, 24 hours, which is more than I think that we need, but just to see what it is that they're being fed by algorithms, because we're all being manipulated by them. What are they seeing that they are so
Yeah.
pro Harris?
There, a lot of them are just talking to other people that kind of have the same. I feel like a lot of people that are on the left have a huge heart, and they just care to an extent. As long as you agree with them, they care about you and whatever you agree with. Like, but a lot of them just want to say the thing that teenagers say. But you notice when you're an adult, you're like, yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot that comes with that. You can't just give everybody money. No one's homeless now. You know what I mean?
Right.
People have to get off their ass and do something, you know, and you can't just make people do stuff. But I feel like a lot of people have that, like, what's the word I'm looking for, where they're happy-go-lucky kid view on everything.
I'm drawing a blank, but I know what you're talking about.
But it's like they just think that, oh, it'll solve itself. We just throw more money at it. Like, it'll solve itself. And then they start talking about Stonewall Jackson. Or not Stonewall Jackson. General Lee.
That was very short in there.
Yes. And I wish I had remembered. I already knew this. General Lee was a military officer prior to the Civil War. And he had gone to West Point up on the East Coast, and then the Civil War broke out. This is a man that was born and raised in Virginia or West Virginia or whatever, and he had to make a choice. Do I fight with my government for my government, for the military, yada yada, or do I fight with my friends and family that are down in Southern Virginia that are with the Confederates? You know, what choice do I make? What choice would you make as a a person with a family? Like, who do I fight with, my family, or do I fight with the North? You know, and I think that's a choice a lot of people are going to have to make at some point in the future when it comes to our next Civil War, our next skirmish, whatever. Like, but people look at someone like Lee and, oh, he was on the Confederate side, so he likes slaves and he likes this, that, and the other. And it's like, whatever his views might have been around that time, everybody's views were way different than the views that we all hold now in 2024. This is in like 1870s, 60s. Like, people had way different views. But
you can go back to sitcoms from the 90s and see how much we've changed. And maybe you could say evolved or de-evolved, whatever. But I mean, over time, things change. And what we don't have is that perspective, because our history books have changed so much. So much. We're not getting the full history.
The victors are the ones that write the history.
Right.
Oh, yeah, no, this is what happened.
Right.
But no, they kept talking about that, and then it just got nuts after that. So obviously they cut a huge chunk of that. But I wish I had remembered that and gotten to, like,
just
throw
say
out
your
there,
point.
hey, by the way, he's not just an evil racist guy. Like, that he has depth to his character. And U.S. Grant, I think it was U.S. Grant, was another general that fought for the North. Mm-hmm. He saluted, I'm pretty sure he saluted General Lee when he surrendered.
Oh, really?
Because Lee was like, I don't want more of our soldiers to die. Like, there's no point in this. Obviously, you have won. I surrender. And it was an honorable thing that they both did. Like, now we run drones into people and blow them up.
I would have liked to see more truth bubbles come up, and I don't know if it was too late or not, especially about the Haitians and the eating the animals and stuff.
It hasn't happened yet. The one where I go,
I think that kind of performance was okay against Biden. And if you guys notice, a lot of the things he said against Kamala, he said against Biden. About the abortion, the baby being killed after it's born, he never should have said that. About a lot of the points that he made against Biden, and he did it against Kamala too. But the thing is, Biden literally just fell apart and quote unquote died on stage, what we saw last time, and that's why they switched him out with Kamala. So I guess Trump I was expecting him to.
He made some good points with that too.
He made some fantastic points throughout the whole thing. I definitely learned from him.
We have
the only qualified person there.
A prosecutor, an attorney general, a senator, and a
attorney general and prosecutor for San Francisco. How's that doing? How's San Francisco doing?
She said it herself, the same old playbook, and that's what we saw.
Yeah, and y'all can't talk over me here. I hold the power.
How ridiculous the things were that he was saying, to your point about the, eating dogs and all of that stuff. I mean, none of it was factual.
There you go,
Which,
eating
by the
dogs.
way, that right there is BS. There's video of cats being grilled on a grill by a Haitian family in a Haitian backyard in Ohio. So it's true. The dogs.
I would say that when I judge, my kids play sports. When
she made a fantastic
I judge
point with
who
that.
won or who didn't win, I want it to be an even
That
playing
she
field.
wanted
and
it
I
to
think
be an
should
even
a fair
playing field.
contest. And I
The
know you
moderators were definitely leaning more
record.
towards her as helping her in the
Kamala.
softball.
But CNN has pronounced it 12, 20 times on record.
We're telling you how to just like every other person of color.
Semantics, you guys. Let's not get stuck. Let's go to policies.
Can we just hear the rest?
It's Kamala or Kamala. Which, by the way, if you watch this, they call her Kamala like halfway through. Like even they screw it up. I was gonna point it out while I was there, but I was like, we've wasted so much time.
Yeah.
My family escaped on the back of a pickup truck from Iran in 1985 while being shot at by border police. I spent a night in the Pakistani deserts. We were caught, and we had to escape, and it took 6 months for my family to come here not speaking English. We left everything behind, started from nothing, living in a 2-bedroom apartment with 8 people in it. The reason why I say that is, you know, America is the greatest country on earth, and to erase its history instead of learning from it is what they did in China.
China.
Well,
You could see me laughing too.
George Bush had peninsula. Everybody started calling it a peninsula after he said that.
What was used by people trying to get rid of the old and bringing in the new world, like China
the group of
Communist
people being
Party.
affected by those statues are telling you what it's doing to us.
Correct.
Oh yeah, God. Everybody on that side kept.
We do want to hear about the debate. Let's just switch back to.
They kept giving like as a black woman, as a Filipino.
Won the debate. I feel like the only people that really lost were, other than them, was the American people. I imagine we can all kind of agree on that. Nothing was really said. Nothing was really, we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
Y'all can't even agree on what you
actually
disagree
gets
about.
done. I think as far as the debate goes, Trump dropped the ball on a couple things. The Medicare or Medicaid conversation or question that he received, he kind of dropped the ball on that one. But other than that, it was just
only
a bunch
in
of
how he spoke about it.
I didn't watch the debates.
No?
No, I didn't, and I won't because they're pointless, and it's already been decided. They bold-faced told us how they were going to cheat the last time. They did it. Nobody stopped them. He's not going to win this time because they've already gotten away with it once.
Or the
election. So I'm not getting myself. And everybody loved Trump until he ran as a Republican, and that's what it's going to be. It wouldn't have mattered if they put Trump up, if they put Vance up. It wouldn't have mattered if they put Jesus up. He was going to be the villain no matter what, and going to lose.
Well, yeah, they can take little tidbits of what he says and call him a racist.
Right.
Because we all. She did better than Biden. And anybody that did better than Biden, it's like, hell yeah, we have a winner, guys.
Well,
but at the end
we
of
all
the day,
agree that was a low bar.
Yeah.
We're going to read.
He was cool. I think he's definitely more middle of the road than anything.
Our next prompt will be played as a video. This is a quote from Trump from the debate.
They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country, and they're now in the United States. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it.
If you agree with that quote, step forward.
Oh, it's just this. Okay. From that quote, at least from what I got personally, was he was talking about the illegal immigrants that aren't being background checked, that are being let in. Personally, to me, my grandparents and my mother are immigrants. They're not from here, and they came here and they worked very hard to get their residency.
Everyone was super nice too, as far as on our side. The other side was so mean. No, I'm just kidding. But we were very encouraging. Like, you got this. Like, because everybody's nervous in there, and they edited it out, but it's a lot of, oh, sorry, I said that wrong. Like, and it was the other side as well. We were like, you got this. Breathe, relax. We'll come back to it. But
that's good.
Then it got like.
He's not very eloquent at times, and so he says things, and people are like, well, what does that mean? That doesn't make any sense. That's at least the context that I'm getting it from. That's at least what I can see, and that's at least what's been proven. So.
I also feel that way. I feel like a lot of the people that are just being willy-nilly let in here they're passing multiple other countries just to get to America to claim asylum in America. I don't blame anybody for coming here at all. If I was born outside of this country, I would want to do the exact same thing. Us as Americans, all of us, hit the lottery when we got born here. And if you've come here legally through the process, my issue is the people that are just being let in. Oh, they claimed asylum. Here's a bank card. Here's a cell phone. And by the way, show up to this court date in 3 years. Promise, right? Like pinky promise. and then they just let them go. They send them to whatever city, Chicago, New York. The people that actually live there are the ones in Colorado, where I'm from. We are the ones that are actually seeing this stuff and being affected by it, whether it's people driving on the road without license plates, insurance, don't know how to drive because they're coming from whatever country they're coming from. But every single person that comes in here illegally is being counted in the census. When you count these people in the census, that's going to give people more house seats, I'm pretty sure. And I don't want to misspeak.
No, you're
Hopefully
right.
a little truth bubble pop
There
up
you
at
go.
the bottom. But they're getting house seats, they're getting...
I did that on purpose too. I was like, I hope the editor really hears me. And they did. I was dying.
Legally and want to live a better life, want to have that American dream. That being said, like, you're taking away things, taxpayer money that all of us as taxpayers are paying that should be going to Americans, should be going to veterans. Veterans are, make up, I want to say, less than 8% of the American population, and less than...
Only 1% of the population currently serves in the military.
Join the military and volunteer to join our military forces. And the fact that we have homeless vets should not be a thing. And we're just giving this money to these people that come here illegally, don't play by the same rules.
I see a lot of...
Maybe it's because it's our circle, but it feels like it's a lot more than that.
You talked about how it affects the census.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean,
I feel like it's the security world where it's, it's a lot bigger, or it's smaller than you think it is, but don't burn bridges because everybody knows everybody. And I've met vets that know another guy from my unit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it's awesome, but it's a lot smaller than people
a
think.
school in my area into a migrant shelter, and it was the Wadsworth Elementary School. And they also turned South Shore High School into a migrant shelter as well. When they did that, I remember the protest.
I can only imagine what that guy's going through in his community, because Chicago was rough to begin with, and now they've just added fuel to the fire.
Well, imagine it's right down the street and you're watching it every day you take your kids to school. Then it's like, I'm sorry, what?
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like you said, you're being talked to like you're stupid, by pretentious politicians that are, well, I mean, you don't understand, silly peasant.
Yeah.
I'm spending your money wisely.
It's like the guys on the football field that are down there playing it, but the guys that are up there calling the shots up in the top of the boxes that can see the whole field at the same time, saying, it's just easy. It's just an easy game.
Why didn't he just run?
Yeah, I mean, they were open everywhere. How could you not see it?
Explain and lecture to me why I have to be quiet and accept it, that's never going to happen.
I know that we have more to say, but I'm going to bring in the disagreeers for time.
So I might let some of the people on my side even talk about Biden's shift to the right when it comes to immigration, more deportations in the Trump administration. That's not something that I'm particularly passionate about. I don't really believe in removing people who are fleeing political persecution or looking for a better life for their families. What I would say to the people that are worried about vetting or worried about who necessarily is in this country is increase the pathway to citizenship. Not only should we be able to vet who these people are, we'll be able to add them and actually fully understand what they're here for, what their motivations are. And if you want to garner those voters, you got to capitulate to those voters. And I think Republicans can do that. A lot of Hispanics that come from there have conservative values. You shouldn't just write them off as people that can't drive or people that are not talented.
No, I'm not saying they're not talented. I'm just saying.
You're saying they might not even be qualified to drive a vehicle. Like, that's kind of...
No, Joe, I just want to
No,
really
no,
quick.
go
I want to
for it.
just ask you a real quick question. Can you please define what immigrants who are seeking asylum means?
So I'm political persecution, like you were saying, or somebody's going to murder them or whatever it is.
Okay.
I get, like, it could be 100% true. I'm not
So
like...
are those things
let him
currently...
finish.
I'm just asking.
He did that the entire time. He'd ask a question and just...
Like my family was, or actually, but when you see the videos...
Okay, yeah, but what
you can
about your
tell-
family?
Well, it has to be frustrating as you're watching it now, and you're like, man, I wanted to say this, I wanted to say that, and you didn't get a chance.
Well, and then he talks. He was pretty good at, the moderator was pretty good at like calming people down and moving forward. But like even then, he would still no. But I have to say this, and it's like, bro, you're ignoring the obvious. If you go to Somalia How many people? I'm not saying people don't know how to drive. I'm saying people in Somalia, Haiti, Venezuela, Afghanistan. Like, think of like these places that are considered not. I don't think Venezuela is considered third world yet, but like these places are not at the same level as America when it comes to rules, regulations, things like that. And the process that you have to go through to get a driver's license, to be on the road, insurance, license plate, like registering your vehicles. A lot of these people aren't doing that. A lot of people are buying stolen vehicles, unbeknownst to them. But we're never going to know because license plates are being taken off. It's not registered. There's no insurance. So they will rear end you or sideswipe you or whatever, and you can't do anything about it.
Right.
And what happens then if you drive after this guy, he pulls over, you get out, and you're like, bro, why are you trying to run away? They don't understand you because they don't speak English fluently, and you don't speak Spanish or whatever other language fluently. So it's just a big argument. Then this guy like flips out on you, thinks he can put his hands on you because he doesn't understand the laws. And back in his country, he could just get in a fight and that'd be the end of it. But here he goes to attack me or somebody else and they pull a gun and end it. Who gets in trouble then? Especially in a blue state. Do I get in trouble? Hopefully the insurance I pay for my concealed carry is going to cover me. Hopefully.
Yeah.
But it's like, those are the situations I'm talking about. And when I'm saying S-hole countries, like, that's what I'm talking about. Like people that, to my original point, after a woman gets raped, who's married and then goes to tell her husband, I got raped by this man or this group of men, and they bury her up to her neck and stone her to death. Like, that's happening right now in the world in 2024. People think that that's okay, and those people are coming to America where it's not okay, where you can't hit your wife, you can't hit your children. You know, I mean, hopefully some states you can like pop your kid on the ass, but like get them acting right, but like not to the level some of these other countries are doing. Like, you know, but that's my main point when I was talking about that.
Well, but also when you come through and you're doing your citizen in the right way, they teach you, as I understand it, because I was, like you said, I won the lottery by being born an American, but they teach customs and things like that. So they kind of have an idea as to how to assimilate, and not that you need to assimilate, but you kind of need to know the lay of the land. You need to know how to work with your neighbor to not pull a gun when you get pulled over, things like that. You know what I mean?
If you moved to France, what would you learn?
French.
You know what I mean? Like, and not to be like, this is America, we speak American. Like, I'm not saying it like that. I'm saying it more of like, if I went to another country, I would assimilate because I'm going to their country. They're not coming to mine. So I agree, but kind of disagree. You need to assimilate. This is America. Like, play by our rules. Most of the time we don't even play by our rules, but we're Americans, we can be assholes. Like, this is our country,
but we understand the culture enough to know where the line is. Hopefully
even, but when the line's not enforced because of certain administrations not enforcing laws, certain attorney generals and people like that not enforcing the laws, things go awry, things get crazy. And now we get what we have right now in America.
Well, right. And then, like, even with the Venezuelan gang that's down in Aurora right now, things like that. How did that happen? How did we allow that to happen?
Yeah. It's... Yeah. I feel like a lot of things get exaggerated, but it's like something happens that should not happen at all. And then people run with it and make it bigger than what it was, even though it's something that shouldn't have happened in the first place. Venezuelans or whoever taking over apartment complexes, like, it has happened. There's proof that it has happened.
Yes.
I don't think it's to the, like, the Hells Angels are going to go fight them. And like, that never happened.
No, I don't think that did either. I think that was probably just a rumor that was going to happen. And somebody was like, yeah, what a great idea.
Supposedly the landlord of one of those apartments started got with a company to help push that narrative that they were taking over more than they actually were, and started throwing in lies and stuff like that, because he was a slumlord that lived in a different country or different area that was letting it go to hell in a handbasket and not taking care of the property.
Yeah.
So it was a mixture of people going, well, now we're going to run it.
Oh.
But it's like, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
And explaining it to these groups is not easy, because in their country, they say what needs to be done, and I'm going to do it, or you're going to shoot me. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Yeah.
It's
controversies and the tumult in Iran. And Trump, in his initial presidential election, wanted to ban Muslims from coming to America.
It was not a Muslim ban.
Where's the truth bubble on that one?
It was a trap.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that they didn't pop little truth bubbles at the bottom with.
Are they whole countries? Is Haiti or Somalia?
Are you really going to classify?
I'm just asking.
The term third world is offensive to me, bro. Because you're talking of yes.
I love it when you do that. Really? As a veteran, though.
Yeah.
Give me a break. Some of these people have given you some of the biggest scientific innovations in the world.
Oh yeah, Haiti and Somalia.
Man, after they've been
in the Bible, bro, not now.
I'm from Iran, and it happens now.
I want to close the loop on.
Somalia has really given us a lot of innovations for America. Like, not to dig on Somalians, but like
people who are seeking asylum.
I'm saying that Ronald Reagan said that the United States was a shining city on a hill, right? That's the basis of your guys' philosophy, right?
What are you saying?
I'm saying that this has been and has been forever a country of immigrants.
Why can't they stop at the other countries they stopped at to get here? That is my only point.
Why can't they just go back to where they came from? Is that what you're saying?
Let's go to Zion.
Okay, I'm going to start out with saying that immigration is not my biggest issue. It's not. I think people have a right to come to this country. I think our country was founded off of immigrants, slaves even, but if we want to actually talk about it, right?
So
we can all agree
cut that part out too, because you can hear me go, and their own people. They cut the part out where I go, because there was a whole spiel about slaves and like this, that, and the other. And I'm like, yeah, the Spaniards went across the Horn of Africa, like went around the border of the ocean in Africa, collecting slaves from war tribes that went to war with other tribes and would sell their people, not their own people, but the other tribes' people, to the Spaniards. And that just like, the slave trade has been around for centuries. Every single race has been enslaved. And I gotten to prepare for this. I went on TikTok live and would like debate with people, which was pointless in the end. God, they would mute me anytime I was making a point, and then just talk mad shit the whole time while I'm muted. And I'm just like, guys. But like my main point with that was like, yeah, no, slavery's bad, but like every single race has been enslaved. Like African Americans in America today are just the most recent version of slavery that we have seen, which is horrible. Chattel slavery, you know, civil rights, redlining, like all these things are horrible. But my main point with that was like she went on a tangent, and I was just like, look, everybody has had to deal with slavery. It's just, this is the most recent version of it. And at some point, not just slavery, but like all these political things that people cry about, and slavery is definitely something to cry about. But my main point was like at some point the LGBTQ community, the black community in some ways, and other communities that play this victimhood thing that have had nothing to do with their life in particular, in 2024 are going to slowly lose that moral authority over straight people, white people, Christians, like insert whatever opposing group. They're going to lose that moral authority over them, and people are just going to stop caring, and they're going to be like, oh yeah, okay, I'm racist, okay, I'm sexist, okay, I'm whatever. What are we doing now? Move forward. Yep, call me whatever you want. Like, people are getting numb to it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot more people are seeing more and more racism, and it's going to get even worse because people are fed up with it, and words like Nazi or racist or white supremacist are losing their power. The word, like, nobody in 2024 would know what a real Nazi is if they came up and smacked them in the face and asked for the papers. Like,
Oh, Joe.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No one would know because that's what Trump is, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like everything's lost its oomph. And it's like, you're not going to know what to do when you meet an actual racist if you're calling him a racist. So, and they cut.
Well, yeah. So what you're saying is essentially you use the word so much that when it comes down to, hey, you really need to identify this, you've cried wolf.
Yes, to an extent, because there are racists.
Yes.
Racist people.
Yes, and there's going to be. And when you need to say, hey, this guy's really a racist, they're going to go, but you've said this guy is, and this guy is, and this lady is, and this child is. Yeah.
And they cut that part out. Sorry. I went on a
Yeah.
tangent.
No, she's getting ready to say something too here about checks and balances and
whether it
There
means
you go.
any of those things. But what you guys are failing to acknowledge is that the bipartisan bill was presented and they voted no, strictly, genuinely, because they didn't want to give Biden the W on that. That would be fine and all, like cool, whatever, but this isn't a game. This isn't like, you don't get to play with people's lives and where they live and what they're escaping from. You don't know what they're coming from. That ain't none of your business. Honestly, they don't owe
There's
you that. If they
right there.
pass
It's none of your business. Well, it is because there's a lot of things. First of all, if it's our tax dollars, we definitely have a right to know. We definitely do. And how is it affecting us that they're already here? Well, how about inflation? I mean, basic economics, which they should teach in high school. Buying a house, traffic, insurance, taxes.
Insurance. 40% in America. Insurance has gone up by 40% all across America.
Yeah.
And Colorado specifically has gone up by 50%. I'm pretty sure. If you look at what we were paying 5, 6, 7 years ago, it's nothing compared to what we're paying now.
Right.
Like, mind-numbing.
Well, and my thing too is uninsured motorists. I have to carry insurance because you don't. Well, then why don't I get to take your car right there and then?
That'd be awesome. This is mine now.
Yeah. We're going to find out whose fault it is, and then I own your car.
I mean,
and everything in it.
I feel like that's pretty fair.
I do too.
It sucks, but it's like, yo, you want to drive. It's a privilege. Driving on the road in a car is a privilege.
Yeah.
And I explain this to my kids all the time. Like, these are privileges. I don't have to let you play video games. I don't have to let you drive a car. That's a privilege. I don't have to give you an allowance. Privilege, and I feel like most people don't grow up with that. And that's why we have what we're dealing with now with, especially with immigrants that are coming here illegally. They already broke the rules coming in. So it's like, well, this is a big rule that I broke, and y'all still let me in, and you're paying me.
Yeah.
So
I think it's really funny when Democrats, Kamala Harris supporters bring this up, because when people bring it up, they bring it up as this like big gotcha, like, oh my gosh, and partly, you guys are right, like, okay, why would Republicans, go back on this? So I do understand that part. But my question is, why did it take them to election year, a few months or 6 months before the election, I believe it was 6 months before the election. Now they want to put forth this bill.
Definitely
If the
a coincidence.
Biden administration and now Kamala Harris wants to be president, I think it's completely legitimate to say, you were in office since 2021, Biden and Kamala. That's when they came in office. You waited until 2024 to put together this Republican bill. And might I just add, since Democrats are moving on the right on immigration, does it mean that us Trump supporters were right all along?
If you want to talk about when we
they cut what they rebutted after that, because no one really had a good answer.
first 2 years in office, when you had a Republican Congress and a Republican Senate, and you had been raging about the immigration bill, and Mexico was going to pay for the wall, remember? Why didn't he do it?
What a good scene to cut to. Just angry faces.
It's just, where's your point going with this?
Mental illnesses could
And
still
when
get
he was
guns.
presented with
Those
the
are
time,
literally
when
the
he was-
only two
I read the comments. Oh my God, they went in on Blue Shirt.
Yeah, I do feel bad for
that
him.
you've
though.
let in 16 million people already. They're here,
yeah.
and then you say, and we want a border solution now.
were
They
trying to
are
calm them
already
down.
here. It has already happened, and now you're claiming to say you want to solve it. They're already here.
And how is it affecting you?
I will tell you, I am a taxpayer, and my taxpayer dollars, number one, are going to people who are not paying taxes and are not citizens and came here illegally. Okay, when you come here illegally, you have performed a crime. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I am a physician. I work at the county hospital. These people come literally with maps to come get free health care from the county hospital. They will walk across.
They really do, especially down in Aurora.
To come get their health care and health services here. They have not contributed into that healthcare system with their taxes.
Why does someone have to contribute?
Because there's a fine. I love
it's not a disagreement of political beliefs. It's a disagreement.
Why do you need to contribute?
Her comment saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand is some of these guys that are making these comments they're not thinking down the road. That's what I was saying. It's like a teenager. Like they're thinking of right now, right now. It's good right now. You know, they're not thinking 5 years down the road. They're just thinking about what's going to affect me this week. Is them contributing to taxpayer funded things, you know, like healthcare, food stamps,
roads,
Section 8, roads, stuff like that. Why do they need to contribute? I'm contributing. You're contributing. And it's like, yeah, at some point, enough people are going to stop contributing that nothing's going to get done. And the healthcare system is going to be like it is in Canada, like the VA, you know, like the VA is slowly getting better. But that's because veterans are actually standing up and trying to do stuff to fix it, to correct those things. But like, there's no forethought in what they're saying or what they're the point they're trying to make. It's, well, why do they have to pay? That's none of your business. It's like, yeah, it is. You think of the country like a house. And I say this in here, think of it like a house. If you're going to live in here, you are going to contribute. We need to know who you are. We need to know what you've done if we're going to let you in and be in this house where, you know, the bedrooms are, you know, who knows what you could do. Like, but knowing who you are is the first step. And God knows how many gotaways get through. Like, we're only counting the people that are nice enough to stop and say, oh yeah, I want to go to New York. I want to go to Illinois. You know what I mean? So there's no forethought at all.
Resources
of your morality. That is a disagreement of morality.
Yeah, they kept trying to look over at the chick in the blazer to be like, oh, you had a question at some point, maybe? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they say we can't include parts where you're yelling, but like
there's a lot of overlap. We're going to end this.
Cool. Yeah. All right, so I just wanted to make 3 points. The prompt was, you know, agreeing with whether criminals and folks like that were let into the country. Right, you all are identifying resource issues, right? And so it's one thing to talk about the folks.
There was a comment in there where they're like, how are both the black girls' last names Harris?
Oh, you know what? That's crazy. That's crazy.
Right? That's a valid point, and I think that we have to, you know, make sure we have an immigration bill in place that allows for a pathway. And so whether it was the last 9 days of an administration or the first 9 days of the
I haven't agreed with anything she said, but I like her delivery, and I was engaged to hear what she said because it was well put together. It might have made sense.
Yeah, no, and we're watching. This episode is just us talking about it the entire time. We're going to fast forward, pause, cut, stuff like that. So, like, it's not going to be the whole video. You should watch the video, the entire video, uninterrupted on Jubilee. It's a good video. But she a lot of her points were very, like, middle of the ground, left-leaning, pro-Harris. None of them really had any substance.
Off of that, you and her are both correct with everything that you both said, and I completely agree. The issue is, it's like opening the door, letting a bunch of people in, then shutting it and going, hey guys, we don't have enough resources for this. Where do we get the money to do it? And we're all just supposed to be taxed to all hell until everything gets paid for. And that's my biggest issue is like, I'm not making millions of dollars every day. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a millionaire. I do private security contracting, and I work for the rich people, you know, and I go in with MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, all these news agencies to these protests where all these issues are happening and nothing's being done. Anything that gets shown that could be crazy or wild to see on the news, certain news agencies aren't going to show you. So if
they're only going to show you what the producers want.
Well, I thought you had said something about when you were up in the Dakotas and they were burning down a bunch of stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And go to the border, but
that was the main point of what I was trying to say was like, I just didn't get to it because they cut it out. But I was explaining like when I was going to these protests up in North Dakota at the Dakota Access Pipeline, up in at the George Floyd protests, at the Breonna Taylor, I think is her name, protests out in Kentucky, I think, but out at the CHOP thing that they did out in Oregon, in Portland, like nothing was ever really done. Here and there, people got arrested, but they all had companies that were, or foundations, George Soros, other people like that were paying lawyers to get these people out of jail, get them off, and pay their bail, and like nothing happened to these people. But then you got the people on January 6th where it's just like, well, they shouldn't have been doing it. And it's like, it's not as cut and dry as that. There's a lot more nuance to it. And my main point was like, there's two forms of justice politically. It's if you agree with us, then you're on our side. If you don't agree with us, then screw you, you're not on our side. Like it's not fair in any way. And like, I'm not saying that to be like, it's not fair, I don't want to play anymore. But like, what are we doing? Are we going to enforce all laws? Are we going to keep people from acting like asinine people? You know, like, what are we going to do? Are we going to enforce it? Yes, no, maybe so. And we're not getting any answers. We're just being told, don't worry, we're going to fix it. Like, everything's going to be fine once I get elected. And one of the points that we were all making on our side was like, she is vice president right now.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Right.
She could go wake him. Trump making that zinger on the debate. Kamala, go wake Joe Biden up at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Wake her up. Tell him, hey, we got to fix the border right now. Sign this right here. And you take a little handprint and, like, with paint. That's how Biden signs it. No, just kidding. But, like, Jill signs it.
Yeah. Somebody signs it.
But, like, that was the main point we were all trying to make was, like, you're there right now, but they cut that out.
Well, and having a two-party system, we've set ourselves up as a society to have an us versus them mentality. And the media is happy to play into it because it's lazy media, first of all, and it's easy to get those gotcha moments.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
I'm seeing actual Venezuelans, actual Haitian people, actual Somalians over in Greeley, Colorado, taking over every single job, and they're getting hired through these temp agencies that won't allow them to work full time, which is horrible for them specifically. That's not fair to anybody that came here thinking they're going to get a job and make American money. You know, like, that's not fair to them, and it's not fair to the American people and the legal immigrants that came here that they can't get those jobs because now it's just taken over by temps.
Our next prompt is, my candidate has contradicted themselves.
Yeah, I'm very critical of Kamala Harris. I honestly don't think she's going to be the best president. I view voting as very harm reductive. So when it comes down to who's going to be in office, it's going to be Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. And I think that my goals are much easier to organize with a Kamala Harris presidency than a Donald Trump. So Kamala Harris, one of my biggest criticisms of her is she ran on many progressive platforms, especially early on in her presidential campaign in 2020 during the primaries. She has not stuck to many of those. She's actually gone to the right on a lot of those issues. She's trying to appeal to Republicans. She's entered Dick Cheney into our camp of support. These are people that I abhor. These are people that I don't think should have the respect of progressives and she's trying to rally us all in against Donald Trump.
I really am happy that you did mention that, because the media portrays it like, yeah, we have more Republicans on our side, Republicans who are supporting Democrats, but you're like, wait, these aren't the kind of Republicans I would like to be on our side. So I do think that's kind of nice not to just kind of have that like clickbait, oh, look, you know, like a token.
Same on both sides.
Same on both sides.
Well, I'll
too.
clarify, I don't want any Republicans on my side, I'm being honest. So,
Seriously,
lie.
y'all can keep Dick Cheney. Keep Dick Cheney over there, please. Please keep him.
I feel like he definitely has his way, and I feel like we can go back and everybody has said one thing that they've changed now, you know, and they obviously they're just like people like us. They're going to change and evolve, and their views and based on the life experiences, at least from what this country or what they go through, they're going to change. And I'm sure you can go back and you can look at things that he said that he has completely changed his stance on now. Like almost every single politician, Republican and Democrat, have said, you know, homophobic or racist things. Every single one.
Not every single one, babe.
I think the biggest one, obviously, is going to be abortion. Because for me,
I don't think you get to.
Listen here, honey.
Yeah, I don't think you get to say you've said my candidate's name wrong and then call somebody else on the other side babe, honey, sugar.
That'll be a rule when we do this.
I'm going to appoint Supreme Court
honeys,
justices to
no babes.
redo Roe v. Wade or send it back to the states. And then to do this flip of, I think he was interviewed about the heartbeat bill. And first he was kind of like, no, that's not long enough. And then the next day he said, wait, no, I agree with the 6 weeks, because the Republicans got mad that he went back on what he said about abortion. So it is kind of annoying.
Let's bring in our disagreeers.
Yeah, this was the schmishmortion part of it that they cut out. That's why everybody's popping up then, because they just completely cut it out.
Legal pathways to immigration. She's always said pro-choice. She's always, you know, been consistent with her opportunity economy where we
And
build
you see how he's like got his head down, is because the director was like, yo, stop.
Evolution, right? Like it's an evolution of the times that we're in. It's an evolution of changing circumstances. It's an evolution of changing demographics and what people want and need and all of that stuff. But as far as her principles and her platform, it's remained the same.
I feel the same way. I think that, you know, when you hire a CEO for a company, and let's think of America as a
They basically just say the same stuff over and over. Let's fast forward to me. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's kind of why we're here.
Yeah, right? Let's only hear what I have to say. She said, I own guns. Walls owns guns. We're not going to take your guns.
I never knew that.
No, right. But like 10 minutes later, not actually 10 minutes later, but like a couple days later, she does an interview where she's like, we're not going to take your guns. But weapons of war, we're going to take those. What's a weapon of war would be my main thing. Those are the things that affect me as a gun owner. Sure. I love being able to have the option to protect my family. If that's taken away and now I have to just run outside of my house if somebody breaks in, like, what are people, I feel so bad for people that live in California with the way that things are just criminal-wise, with people breaking into homes, stealing stuff. That should not be allowed. You should be able to defend yourself.
And I really want to respond to this.
If that was taken away, I don't know what I would do. I would definitely bury my stuff in the basement like John Wick. But
that right there, that was the best line of the whole segment. Right. That was the best line.
My boys were like, that was so funny. I'm like, it's true.
Who is this, group of people that is coming and knocking and banging down y'all's? What are you doing to bring that in your life, A? And B, if you didn't need the AR-15, and this, you're talking
victim blaming, really? Like, say that to
a veteran who built bombs. I didn't need to walk around.
Yeah, a veteran that built bombs. She was irritating on that end just because it's like, I'm hearing what she's saying in real time, and I'm like, that's not true. You're what? And then the victim blaming of, what are you doing to bring that upon yourself? Why are you bringing it upon yourself for people to just show up to your house for no reason, break into your house and grape you in front of your family? What are you doing to bring that upon you? Nothing. That happens in America, all around the world, but in America specifically, that happens. To pretend that it doesn't is asinine. And then to limit people's abilities to be able to protect themselves just in case that situation arises, who are you?
I know. Well, and they've built whole TV shows around it.
Yes.
Or channels, let alone ID.
True crimes.
True
Like-
crimes. Yeah. I mean,
And as a woman, isn't that like y'all's thing? You love true crime.
yeah, I know.
shows?
I know. I survived.
Yeah. I just like when she said
The
that.
show I survived.
Yeah, right. But like that's all I was thinking the whole time was like, that is not an argument at all. That's not a good argument to begin
No,
with. But
no,
it's
no.
like, yeah. But she continues.
With a doggone machine gun 24/7 to protect all of us.
gun.
Like it wasn't necessary and wasn't needed. And I did, most importantly, did not need to bring that home to feel like my house was protected. I'm not saying no guns, that we should take all guns. I feel like we can all agree at this point, something has to change and something has to
Just
be
in the
done.
way they regulate cars.
I was totally with you prior to COVID. I was like, why do we need assault rifles? Why do we need, machine
loved
guns?
that
I was
point.
totally with you. And then when COVID happened, I realized that the progressives don't stop. First they said 6 feet apart. We said fine. Then they said wear a mask, and we said fine. Then they said take the kids out of school, and we were like, Then they said vaccine. We were like fine. Then they said another vaccine. We said fine. Then they said booster.
3
You guys. So the point is, my question to you on that, and the reason why I changed, is let's say the anti-gun lobby gets a win. Let's say they take away the assault rifles. Do you think that they will fully dissolve and say, okay, all other guns are fine? Or do you think that they're going to go after the next gun and the next gun until there's no more
Absolutely.
guns in America?
I think we are talking about
Well, what they did was they cut out the part where we were making the point that when we give you an inch, you take a mile.
Yes.
Like, and you can bring this to anything, whether it's like if you want to die on the hill of like gay marriage or whatever, to each their own. A lot of Americans have that view of like, do you, if that's your batch of cookies, like, do you, I don't care, but just don't bother me, don't bother my children. And now it's turned into, well, we got to have stuff in schools. We got to educate the kids about LGBTQ everything. We have to make sure they know that they can trans themselves. They can take a bunch of medicine and hormone blockers and all these other things. We got to make sure they know. What do you mean your kids haven't read This Book is Gay? Why haven't they read that? It's so informative. And like, she made it, they cut out the part where we're basically like, we give them an inch, they take a mile. If we tell them, all right, you can take the AR-15s, they're coming after pistols next. Like,
right.
Shotguns, rifles. Are they wooden
Everything.
or are they plastic and look scary?
Steak knives.
You know what I mean? Look at the UK. That's doing so well for them. Do you think those kids at that Taylor Swift thing would have made it if, maybe there was a crazy dad like me that was there armed, concealed carrying?
I don't know what you're talking
would have
about.
made it pretty far?
What happened?
So there was a guy, Islamic terrorist, basically, that went to a yoga thing for Taylor Swift. And while they were there, these 7, 8, it was like 6 to 12-year-old girls and boys, I think, that were doing a yoga thing that was Taylor Swift oriented. And this guy came in with a knife, butcher knife, just started going to work and ended up unaliving, I don't know how many kids, but one is too many, obviously.
This is in
the UK, yeah.
Oh God, how long ago?
Not that long ago. Like, it was after the Trump assassination, like a little bit after.
Which
that.
one?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
things like that are happening in a place where guns are illegal.
Yeah.
Nothing to worry about here. It's illegal, so we're safe now. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you're not.
No.
Now I don't have the ability to protect my children.
Right.
Should I carry around a knife?
Right.
And hope that my knife skills are Jean-Claude Van Damme level so that I can take out the terrorists. Like,
Right. And are you carrying insurance as a knife carrier so that in the event you hurt the guy who attacked you, he can sue you?
yeah. Yeah. Because God forbid I fall on the knife that this guy's stabbing me with.
Well, that would have been
I
your
don't want
fault.
to bend his knife and then I ruined his knife with my spine.
You sure did.
same consistent gun being brought to schools and causing mass destruction. We still didn't need a machine gun to walk around in. And I'm talking about
Machine gun,
that
yeah.
has one
I
of the
love the
highest
comments,
murder
too.
capitals in the country.
You're a veteran?
You do not need a machine gun, an automatic rifle.
I think
But if we're getting caught up on specific
You
gun
don't.
types.
You've never needed it before. Let's be for real.
Okay, so we gotta raise your hand.
Is this gun regulation or
Will our agreeers step
and
forward?
the end of that,
The government should get involved with taking guns, certain guns, away from citizens. Raise your hand.
Is this gun regulation or is this like actually removing it from houses?
Let's just say you're in support of some policy that would remove at least some guns from the possession of citizens. Raise your hand.
As a veteran,
I just
Yeah.
There were points where I couldn't help myself. I'm like, you're not a real person. You're just saying these things.
Well, I wonder how much access to weapons she had in the Navy, because I know one of my friends is in the Air Force, and she qualified in basic training and then never did again, and she retired from the Air Force, where we did it at least twice a year. That was the minimum we did it.
I mentioned ruck marching to some Air Force vet or somebody that was in the Air Force actively. And I was like, oh, do you guys, how are ruck marches here? It's pretty flat, no hills. And she's like, what's a ruck march? No, it was a battalion run.
Oh,
That's what it was. I'm like, this is pretty small. I bet battalion runs are pretty easy here. And she's like, we don't do that here. I'm like, oh, you suck. I did.
The life.
I should have joined the Air Force.
For me, at least, I'm obviously probably a lot younger than the people.
The prompt is Harris doesn't understand the economy as well as Trump. They cut the part out of me talking about this where I'm like, I don't think she's an idiot. You don't get to where she's at by being an idiot. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
It's just like she's lying and telling us what we want to hear and not doing anything.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely it's getting worse and worse. And it's like, at least under Trump, I felt like I could afford insurance, my mortgage.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
Now I can't.
Past 4 years.
No.
And you attribute this to
make Kamala Harris way too much. And I think that the prompt, the question is like, she doesn't understand. Oh, she fully understands.
Yeah,
and I think that the problem is us underestimating, because she understands that prices were lower with Trump. She understands that the grocery prices and food, going to McDonald's. I went to McDonald's one day. The next day I'm like, wait, a Big Mac wasn't this much under Trump. Like, what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. I think she understands these things and that the American people are suffering. And she understands it to the point to where, she took one of his policies that...
I think it was COVID. Like right after that, they were like, I think we can go further. We can make this a lot worse.
The money we're going to give you. But she knows exactly what she's doing.
Okay, so some of the things that you guys touched on, just about the state of the economy that was inherited when Kamala and Biden took over when he first came into office.
This was a big point that they kept making. Was, well, all the good things that were going on when Trump was president, that's because of Obama. All the bad things that are going on right now, that's because of Trump. And then I asked, okay, so in 4 years, we can finally talk smack about the Biden administration.
What was the answer?
They were like, oh, like just condescending brush off. And I was just like, every single argument I hear on the TikTok live on anything else is like, oh, well, that's only because, you don't understand how politics works. It's really bad right now because of Trump's policies. Some of his tax plan is in effect right now and doesn't go out of effect till 2025. And it's like, it's not the taxes that I'm worried about. I'm being taxed all hell, but it's with the inflation and with the prices and everything being increased to a ridiculous amount because everything's so much more expensive for businesses, for farms, for companies. And it's like, we're getting the back end of it. When you send $200-something billion to Ukraine or 20-something billion to Israel, all of our stuff's going to get more expensive. And the middle class is going to get the brunt of it. And like, they just ignored what we were saying, and it was
because you won't own nothing and be happy.
Yeah, and eat the grasshoppers.
That's because every 4 years, you're going to see the fallout from the next election, the next president. Does that make sense?
It doesn't take 4 years to turn anything around. It took inflation, 5 minutes?
And even the fact checks, like I love the facts and the statistics that they have now, that in a year or two, they're going to be like, oh yeah, it only had those numbers because they weren't adding this in. Crime's gone down in America for the past 4 years. It's gone down, right? Crime's gone completely down. It hasn't increased. Do you want to know why?
Yeah.
It's because they're not adding in specific crimes.
Yes.
They're not reporting specific crimes.
Yes.
There and when you don't report that stuff, it goes back to the statistics, and they're like, oh well, it's not happening.
Right.
It's like people are breaking into vehicles at an alarming rate.
Yes.
And it's like, what are you pretending that this isn't happening? Well, the polls and the statistics and the numbers don't say that.
Right.
So you're lying. Don't you
Right.
trust science?
I know. Well, and we learned that with COVID too, that
Yeah.
you can fudge numbers any way you want to. I mean, it's less than 1%, but because the number above it was 1% and now is 1.5%, that was a 500% increase.
Yeah, idiot.
It's
Why don't you
still
know
at
that?
1.5%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll find ways to obfuscate the question and get around
Agree
it.
with.
and make it
I
sound
didn't
like
agree
what
when
they're
Donald
saying
Trump
is
proposed it, and I
on
didn't
point.
agree when
Yeah.
Kamala Harris supported
Right.
supported it. Again, I'm somebody who's in favor of the working class, but taking taxes off tips is, again, something that is sold as a very good idea, but it doesn't actually help the people.
He made a really good point about that. I had a different feeling on tips completely. But, well, because if I have to pay 100% tax on everything that I bring in, why would somebody who makes their money off tips not have to pay taxes on it? I think that's unfair. But then he talks about how, well, yeah, but it does, when it comes time to retire, you're not going to have any money in the bank for that. So I learned something from his side.
You're not going to, and that's why I love this so much. I didn't mean to talk over you at the end, but that's why I like this so much, because you're going to hear other opinions from people that can actually have a conversation. But like, you're going to get their side of things and why they think the way they think and what's brought them to their conclusion, so that maybe you can veer a little more left or right or whatever and find a new path. But then you got guys like this guy. When my son was like, I heard you go, damn, Dad. Because I thought he was saying he got bankrupted 6 times.
Oh.
And like all that.
Yeah.
I was like, how are you getting bankrupted 6 times? When you're talking about Trump, this is somebody that probably made money from filing bankruptcy for that company.
Right.
He probably, like, it's definitely a different class of meaning when it comes to filing for bankruptcy. It's not the same as like me or you or like anybody making under a certain amount filing bankruptcy. It's completely different.
Well, and they didn't, in their little fact check, they didn't tell you how many businesses he's actually started. So I'm going to fudge the numbers here, but let's say he had 500 businesses that he's been a part of as either on the board or as CEO, and only 6 of them went bankrupt. That's pretty darn good odds.
Yeah. And we...
Basic business. You're going to lose. You're going to lose. It's a gamble when you go to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
There's
especially
that word
if it's
again.
not like a perfect
Have
idea.
to work all these jobs before they can even get to school. But she's paying attention. But at least we know that she was in an administration that paid attention to those concerns, and Trump hasn't.
Okay, let's reset. Trump is more extreme to the right than Kamala is to the left. Will the agreeers step forward?
It's the one thing that I wanted to say in this debate, because in 2016 she was rumored to be very hardcore against cannabis. And when in fact I did my research, I found out that she was only convicted 45 people. It's not, she was demonized on her views of cannabis. And for me, that's a big issue because it's my medicine.
Do you see her as far left though?
They cut some of the
I
stuff
see
out.
her.
He was definitely all about weed and stuff like that, which I'm a huge proponent of. Like I think it helps people with PTSD, sleep, stuff like that, eating.
It's better than any pharmaceutical.
You know what I mean? And I'm definitely a conservative hippie when it comes to that stuff. If I can solve it with weed, I'm gonna. Or kratom or whatever else, anything. But in this one, they started
her
talking
role as
about,
a DA and as an attorney general. So there were a lot of people that were
They started talking about how she's changed more policies that she was okay with back then, and she's not as left as people think she is.
Run under there. But when it comes to Donald Trump, like, sure, you could say a lot of his policies are not as far right as maybe some of his peers, like a Ted Cruz or like the Heritage Foundation.
Or J.D. Vance.
He has like completely dismissed Project 2025 multiple times. Does that mean that he won't actually enact a lot of those policies? Who knows? We'll see if he does get reelected. But I think his rhetoric specifically is very far right. And that's when we see things like immigrants are poisoning the blood of this country, when he's saying things like they're bringing in terrorists. That type of language has a very strong...
Lincoln Riley or... what's that girl's name that was literally beaten to unaliveness and raped? Like,
I don't know that one,
not
but
Lake and Riley. Is it?
but that's the thing is that they get
I'll
so
put the name
wrapped
at the
up.
bottom.
Yeah, truth bubble.
Yeah.
They get so wrapped up in the actual words that he's saying that they don't hear the message. But they want you
Bloodbath.
to do it with her when she talks in circles. But what she really meant was,
No. And don't get me wrong, Trump rambles. He does some rambling, but there's and I make this point in one of the prompts where that they took out. Trump has hundreds of interviews, hundreds of hours of interviews. Kamala has like 3, and they all seem scripted. And they cut that part out. They all seem scripted. They all seem like the anchor's on her side. Trump's going on these interviews and talking to people that don't like him.
yeah, he is.
Do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Give us more.
Yeah.
If Kamala came out there and started talking about how she really felt about things and then gave us real policies and real, like, things that she wants to change and gave us, like, a real vibe off of her that didn't seem like it was scripted, didn't seem like it's just BS, you know, then I might want to lean more towards what she's saying and I might possibly vote for her. But they're not giving that to us. At least Tulsi, you know, she's liberal, but now leaning more conservative than anything. But like is serving, you know, she served our country and served our in Hawaii as a senator, I think, or something like that.
I don't know.
But she's done a lot for this country, and they just kicked her out of the Democratic Party. We don't need to pick from you. You know, we're just, look, vote for Kamala. Hi, Kamala. You know what I mean?
Well, every time I hear Harris speak, I feel like there's a bug in her ear. And so she's talking really slow so that she can hear what she's supposed to say next.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just seems ungenuine.
It is very.
And with Trump, it seems genuine. He's genuinely an asshole
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, but that's what I like about him. I mean, in the Army, we have that thing called the bluff when you write a report, bottom line up front. And that's what he does. And he says it how he wants to because he wants you just to get the point and get it in one sentence so you don't misunderstand what he's making,
Stay
what
in
point he's
prison
making.
so that they can be used as cheap labor to put out the California wildfires.
Did she not go back and speak on that and apologize and like correct her mistake and say that she had
Yeah, they were just talking about the people that she kept in prison, that she had evidence that would exonerate some of these people and hid it and didn't tell anyone about it to keep them working on the wildfires. You know, indentured servitude. Like, yeah.
That's criminal.
We got like 10 more minutes on that camera.
All right.
So we'll fast forward through some of this just because we're running out of space.
What are we at right now?
We are at 44 minutes.
Okay.
So I'll fast forward it. Again,
What I
people
want to
watch.
hear this side respond to is I've heard the claim that not all Trump supporters are racist, but all racists are Trump supporters.
Oh, I'd like to respond to that.
Yeah, let's.
Okay, so would you also agree that all Hamas supporters are Democrats?
No, I don't think so.
I don't care.
Not at all.
That's different.
Are the Republicans?
I'd love to talk about the
They're
genocide.
Republicans.
Talk about
They have
that.
different.
That's not an answer to this claim.
Correct.
I want to hear a response to their claim that all racists support Trump.
Let's say each side has their extremists. Would we agree to that? And each side is not proud of their extremists. Would we agree to that?
Moved it.
I don't think extremists would identify as Democrats, where
Correct.
white nationalists would identify.
We're talking
as
about white
Republicans.
supremacy.
We're talking about KKK.
Okay, let's talk about the
Sorry.
KKK. So in
No,
2018,
I still
how many
water.
members were there in the KKK? How many members are in the KKK?
Why
I
would it
don't
matter?
know. I
Because
don't
it
study
still
the KKK.
exists.
Marching around town, Ilhan Omar's, and who are really in your real life?
Me too. Yes, I'm from Louisiana.
Real quick, show of hands. Who wants to acknowledge that there are extreme people in their party that they're not proud of? Raise your hand.
The conservative Democrats.
Absolutely.
Yeah, conservative Democrats.
Yeah,
No,
only
no.
conservative
In your
Democrats.
party.
No.
There's no crazy
so you're
people on
saying
the left.
like Dick
Joe
Cheney?
Manchin.
I love that he
like-
calls them out.
I know. I feel like that would have been it. Let's show how equal and balanced we are on our side kind of question. And ours were like, "But yes, of course." And they were like, "Under no
Well,
circumstance."
he even points it out. He's like, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's
for
very
sure.
disingenuous.
Extreme people in their party that they're not proud of. Raise your hand.
The conservative Democrats.
Absolutely.
Yeah, conservative Democrats.
No. In your party.
No.
There's
So you're saying like Dick
there's no
Manchin.
crazy people
Dick
on the
Cheney's a
left or the
Republican.
right.
but
no,
I feel like that's
They're crazy people on the left, they're not
I feel like
Democrats.
that's a disingenuous answer. What I'm asking is, raise your hand if you take ownership that there are people further than you on your side of the political spectrum that you're not proud of in your party.
There's extremes on both sides, for sure.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. All right, our next prompt is, there are policies on the other side that I agree with.
Oh
Agree
yeah,
or
this
step
was
forward?
a good one.
I certainly don't
The
agree
PACT
that
Act
guns should be taken.
is
Not any
something
Democrat
that I enjoy.
completely ban-
Up and ready and button and say, screw everybody else. We need to fix America. That they put in the PACT Act. I think that's great for veterans. That's my main shtick is like we need to do more for vets. There's not enough stuff being done for veterans that needs to be done. And at some point we need to hit the pause button and say, screw everybody else. We need to fix America. We need to lock the doors, figure everything out, get everybody, up and ready, and then start opening the doors, letting people in. But
I heard that Biden was really good with labor.
That was my main point.
Yeah.
And he makes some damn good points right at the end, but they still cut some of
These
some of
flattery
what he
things,
said.
it sounds nice, but when you
What
think
was
about
the
it, it really
question?
doesn't benefit the people that actually need help. I also remember during the housing crisis, Barack Obama, he bailed out the big banks and the airlines.
very
And we
critical
also
of that.
have to remember
his
that
main point
Kamala
was talking
Harris.
about what these politicians are saying they're going to do but don't do, and how all we're being told is, oh, we're definitely going to do this, when if you vote for me and put me in, I'm definitely going to fix these things, but they never do. That was his main point. And then he starts touching on the people that have been screwed over by Kamala Harris and by what she has done as district attorney and attorney general, and just goes in depth, has names, everything. He recited the whole thing, and they cut it out. But some of what he said, they still left in this part.
Did not take on the big banks. This is something that she pushes, and I admire that there are people who, they talk about it and they bring benefit from that. So that's something that I really think we have to.
But the alternative to that is not Donald Trump. It might sound good in the type. I have some conditions, the reason why.
The last prompt is, no matter who wins, we'll be okay.
I have some conditions, the reason why I stood up. Me personally, I'm going to be okay. Yes, I'm disabled, but I am a white dude. I present very sit-hess. I'm somebody that, regardless of who's going to come in, I'm going to have a pretty okay time being able to adjust to that. As far as the rest of the country, I think there's a lot of people in marginalized groups that are going to be heavily affected by a Trump administration. And even a Kamala Harris administration, there's still going to be a lot of problems that we need to really fight for.
So even if
as crazy as everybody makes it out to be, I think
disappointed that someone like her won, but I don't think democracy or the world's going to completely go away.
I agree. As a cisgendered white male, I don't think it's as crazy as everybody makes it out to be. I think
They cut the part out where he's like, ooh, what a great meme. Oh, and I'm like, yeah, that's the point, right?
Who said that?
Mason
said that to you?
is not where it needs to be. They think that it's corrupt, and that I don't think that's going to change unless something crazy happens. But even then, as Americans, we are all very privileged to be here, and I don't think the world's going to end, because everything's got to keep going. Everybody's got to get their Coca-Cola, candy, whatever it is, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon.
Let's bring in our.
That was basically it for my opinion. They cut some of the stuff out that I said where I didn't completely say the blood of patriots must water the tree of liberty. I wasn't quoting anything like that, but I had mentioned how a lot of Americans now are sacrificing security or sacrificing their freedoms for what they perceive as security, and it can be turned like that on to us as the American people. If we don't have a way to protect ourselves, if we don't govern ourselves, then it can be taken away. And then she came out and started chit-chatting about it.
I hate when they say nanny state, that it's become a nanny state, and it kind of has, but that gives the impression that we're going to grow up and grow out of it. It is far worse than that. It needs to be a word other than nanny.
Yeah.
Dictator. I mean, use it. Use it what it really is.
I think we're going to be a surveillance state. I mean, we all already are, but like I think it's going to get a lot worse. I'm going to fast forward it.
You want and call them hostages or whatever you. These people brought a Confederate flag to the Capitol, and he defends them to this day.
I was kind of tired at that point. Like, my back was killing me. I was just like, ugh. Dude.
Well, and at that point, it was a dead horse. They were beating it and beating it and beating it. And how many times can you say if that's... I mean, okay, I'm not a big fan of the Confederate flag, but also that falls underneath freedom of speech. But he wasn't killing anybody, and he wasn't burning down buildings, and I don't know.
No, I completely agree. They did a good job with showing everybody's opinions as far as like the editing and stuff. Like, they did a good job showing everybody's opinions, but they cut so much out that would have like really brought in a little bit more attention to people's opinions and why they think that way, especially on the conservative side, because there was definitely a lot of contention between both sides, and the other side just didn't want to hear anything that we were saying.
So,
this is the end. I'm just gonna play the ending real quick where I wasn't sure if we were still recording, so I turned around and I like start shaking everybody, and I go to shake Mason's hand, and he's like not wanting to shake my hand. Because of what I had, the joke I had made, about as a cisgendered white male.
Oh my gosh,
like that at all.
Oh, how funny.
But yeah, no, that was, and now we got a bunch of time on these two cameras. So
okay.
That one I'm not too worried about.
All right.
I'm gonna hit, so we can take like 5 minutes.
So are you happy with what the last question was? Are you glad they ended it how they did?
I think they could have had a better question. I was not too happy with the last question. It was good. It's a good question, because I think they send you an email, are there any prompts or questions that you think should be added? And they were very professional. They were very nice, and like I didn't have any issues working with them at all. The only thing that kind of irritated me was we weren't given a lot of time to explain our position on certain topics and certain prompts, because people were talking over each other so much so that like you couldn't get a word in edgewise, because the other one goes, no, I have to die on this hill. You know what I mean? Like every single prompt, every single question was a die on the hill kind of thing. And it was just like, dude, I get you're very passionate about this, but like reel it in.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only thing I really had an issue with. I think they should have reeled them in a little bit more. But other than that, I think the prompts were great. The questions were great. The follow through was great. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You got any other questions you can think of? I think we kind of touched on everything.
Yeah, we did. There was maybe one more. Hold on. I think I may have asked this, but maybe not, so you can cut it. Did anything anyone said on the opposite side change your mind about how you felt before you walked in?
Mason had some comments about taxes that I definitely wanted to take another look at, just because, or policies in general and things that were actually done during certain administrations. I imagine he was making really good points. I just need to do more research on it. But it didn't really change my mind on anything. Like I was saying, unless Kamala comes out and completely like turns a 180 on a lot of the things that she just did a video with Al Sharpton and a bunch of other people saying she's going to pay reparations when she gets elected. And it's like, not to beat a dead horse, but like, what are we doing? Yeah. I could go on a whole spiel on like history and slavery and stuff like that. And there's a lot more people than, sorry for interrupting. There's a lot more people that own slaves that were black. There was a lot more people that continued these practices. There were less white people that owned slaves back then in America specifically. Like, it was a very small percentage that owned almost all the slaves in that time. And those are the people that owned giant plantations, you know what I mean? Chattel slavery, not chattel, indentured servitude was a big thing back then. And that was with every race, the Irish, Italians, like every race has been enslaved. So like my big issue was like, Kamala is saying all these crazy things that we're going to pay off your school debt. All of it's going to, under their administration, and none of that's been done. And the things that she says she's going to do when she becomes president, now it's like she has to do those things now, because if she doesn't, the Democratic Party is going to completely lose the black vote. Completely.
I don't know. They have a way of backpedaling and coming up with any excuse. But, I mean, they're dumb excuses, too, and that works out. But my thing with the reparations and paying school loans is that how do we get back to equality? How do we get back to being together as a people and making the playing field level? Yeah. And when you do stuff like that, then somebody else is going to have a chip on their shoulder. I didn't have any school loans because I joined the Army. Yeah. And I spent 4 years, well, a lot longer than that, but my first term was 4 years. And I had to do that in order to pay my loans. So am I going to get not reparations, but am I going to get compensation for that? And what would that number look like? And I don't want it. I want, you sacrifice certain things to have certain things. And I don't think that any of that is fair. I do think that there needs to be some kind of, the way that the school loans are.
It's very predatory.
Yes.
School loans in general, college is very predatory. It's the same education. There's some new stuff that's been updated, but it's the same stuff, but it's gone up by like 200%.
Right.
Compared to what it used to be in the 50s. And don't get me wrong.
Probably more than that.
You know what I mean? I don't think we've had an even playing field for a very long time. I don't think that we've had like everybody on the same level for a long time. But today in 2024, I think it's very hard to prove that, you have less options than me because you're a woman.
Right.
You have hurdles in front of you that I don't have because you're a woman.
And I could say the same thing about you. I mean,
exactly.
That's just part of life. It's not easy, and nobody gets out alive.
But I know, right? Yeah, no, for real, everybody dies. But like, I think that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow on the left more than anything. Some on the right as well, is life is hard for everybody. Every single person, every single gender, every single race, all of these people have different hurdles that they have to deal with. The poor have different hurdles than the rich.
Yep.
And I think if it's anything now that separates us, it's not class. That's the wrong word. It's income inequality.
Yeah.
There's a lot more poor people out there than there are rich people.
Right.
And the middle class has grown substantially since, the 50s. But even then, like I grew up poor in the ghetto. Like, I'd get my ass whooped all the time just for being a tall white kid. Like, and then I got somebody telling me I'm privileged, and like, this wasn't, people might've been saying this stuff in the 90s, but like, they didn't start saying it till after like 2010. Well, you're just a privileged white male. And it's like, please tell me where my privilege card is, because I would have loved to turn that in when I was getting my ass beat every week off the bus. I would have loved to know that when I had cockroaches climbing over my face while I was sleeping, because our apartment complexes are riddled with insects and everything else. The walls are sweating because it's just a crap hole of an apartment complex. And it irritates me when people say that stuff. And I know it's not just me, it's a lot of Americans as well. That's why I was saying, like, these groups are going to slowly lose that moral authority, and people are just going to stop caring. They're going to be like, you know what? All right, call me whatever you want. I don't care. This is what I want done, and this is going to get done. You can call me whatever you want, but we need to fix America and where it's at right now.
Oh, absolutely.
We've too many weak men and weak women are allowing horrible things to happen to our children, to our economy, to our country, and until people stand up, I don't think it's going to change anytime soon.
Well, so I'm kind of on a different side of the fence than most women probably on this, but the emasculation of men, that is a huge one for me, because when you lose your protectors, when you lose that status to be a strong male, then you've lost your podium. Even in the Bible, they talk about it. You're the head of the household, but we want them now to be demure. We want them to be polite, and we want them to be gentle, and that there's, okay, we can be softer, but no, men need to be men.
Well, Jordan Peterson nails it on a lot of stuff when it comes to that, because he really can speak on, psychology and the psychology of men. Be monsters, okay? And if it, and then reel it in, work on that, become a more civilized man, but be a monster. Like, it's true. You want your men to be powerful, strong, civilized to an extent, and honorable, have morals, all these things that used to have a lot more meaning back in the day, well before my time. And it just, the more we lose that, like, you want men and women, but you want these children to be brought up by men and women that hold those same kind of values, so that they can grow up to be real people that have compassion, and at the same time, when something horrible is happening, they'll stand up and say, no, not in front of me. This isn't going to happen. It blows my mind when I see videos of people doing horrible stuff out on the street, on the sidewalk. People are just standing there holding their phones.
Right. Yeah.
I cannot. Every time I'm like a broken record with the wife. We'll be watching something on I watch Fleckis Talks, and we'll be watching one of their videos, and they're basically just showing some old lady get knocked out from behind, and some guy walking by, and then just keeps walking.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's just like, you would have to peel me off that guy.
Yep.
He would not get up until the cops get there, or she gets up. Because if she lays there and she's like, look at Penny, the Marine out in New York in the subway system.
I don't know this one.
So there was some dude, some black guy running around. I don't know if he was homeless or what, but he was screaming and yelling at people, causing disturbing people on the subway and at the stop. And it started a whole fight, because I guess Penny showed up and was like, yo, stop what you're doing. And then they started a confrontation. It ended up on the ground, and he put him in a rear naked choke, and he choked him for a while. I don't know, because there's not like a at length video showing everything. I don't know if like he let go, put it back on when he started fighting, or what. Like, I don't have the inner workings of that, but it's sad that the guy died, but it's like, you do stupid stuff, you win stupid prizes. And what we've done as Americans, we've voted in policies and administration into the places of power that change these rules and make it to where, well, now we're going to punish you, because you shouldn't have done that. You should have just waited for the cops to show up. With that kind of mentality, that's what I'm talking about. People like that need, like, beaten with a wet noodle.
Yeah, but then, so now they want those policies. Okay, great. And then they want to take the immunity, protective immunity. Is that what it's called?
I know what you're talking about.
I wrote it down somewhere. I can't remember.
Damn it, it's specific in Colorado as well.
I know.
And I was just saying it too. Don't say it, and I'll edit this part out.
2 hours later.
Qualified immunity. So they take that away from the police. So the police are getting there and they're like, okay, so now that I can go to jail if I help you, what am I supposed to do? And yet the judges and the prosecutors have unlimited or unrestricted immunity. So even if the bad guy gets sent to, let's say, well, gets put in front of the judge, and the judge says, well, you probably didn't mean it, I'm going to let you out, and that guy goes and kills somebody else, well, then the judge isn't held liable. So we're in this loop, this terrible loop right now.
It sucks because you'll have it on both sides. You got cops that should not be cops.
Yeah, there's some veterans that shouldn't be, or some people in the military, they shouldn't be in the military. In every profession, somebody shouldn't be there.
Yeah. Qualified immunity, I think, is great for officers, and I think it should have the ability to be taken away. Specifically, talking about specific things, the old lady out in Loveland, I think, out here, that they were just too aggressive with, and like I think broke her forearm or something, or twisted her arm, messed her up. But she was senile, dementia ridden, and like had taken batteries or something. It was something stupid. And the cops come up aggressive, and this is just like a very light example. There's better examples you could give where cops are completely out of line. And then you go to places like Portland, Oregon, where they have just been neutered.
Yeah.
That's not okay. We need to find that the middle ground where people can like have qualified immunity, have it taken away, or vice versa, but like find that middle ground where we can agree this is not okay, but we also can't let this happen. Like, and I think that's the biggest issue is we're not going to come to an agreement anytime soon because people like arguing. Is there anything you can think of that we didn't touch on, or anything that you would like to ask that you didn't ask? Anything?
No, not at all. I feel like this was a great opportunity to get information out there, especially about veterans, which is what this all circles back to, is that we have a voice, we get to use it. Thank God.
Hell yeah. The plan is to do that middle ground setup, but with vets and civilians, and get those different opinions, get the people, someone that's saying, I deployed 7 times, have them talk to somebody that was like in the Fallujah, Iraq incursion. You know what I mean? Like, get that guy there next to someone like me who, I deployed to Afghanistan, but like I wasn't out, getting shot at daily. I don't have a combat action badge, or you know what I mean? Like, or a Purple Heart. And just get people with differing opinions talking to each other to where at the end we can bring it all back to veterans and what we can do to help. And I'm excited. It's going to be a fun year. 2025, aside from
we're going to knock it out.
Cities burning down, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming out. And
thanks
we're
for
going to
having
be
me.
doing an episode specifically talking with you. I know, right? Or not. It doesn't. It could, or I could just be making it up. You never know. No, I'm excited. I'm excited for you to come back out here again, because I think you're great, and I look forward to doing more stuff with you.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Thank you.